Others transmigrate as noble ladies or princesses. The girl, however, transmigrated to become a child's stepmother. Not only does she have an ugly husband and son, but also a crazy one who likes to imprison people. After a day of madness, Liar finally accepted this reality. Now is not the time to be sad. To survive, she must build good relationships with her husband and son. But with a cold husband and a crazy son, which one should she start with? At that moment, she heard voices outside the window. Looking up, she saw a cute little boy. She immediately thought, if this is the child of the house, isn't he her crazy son? Such a cute child, completely different from the cruel psychopath in the novel. So the adorable son successfully beat out the husband. However, Liar, who had never raised a child, had no idea where to start. The original work also mentioned that the male lead had a poor relationship with his mother. She could only observe from hiding with the maid. Looking at such a cute child, she couldn't understand why the female lead would neglect him. Unexpectedly, she was discovered the next second. Who's there? Liar had no choice but to awkwardly come out and greet him. To her surprise, the little one completely ignored her and was about to leave. Not wanting to miss such a good opportunity, Liar immediately crouched down and grabbed her son's sleeve. "Cardi, can you stay?" Unexpectedly, her son shook off her hand again, shouting, "I don't want a mom." He ran so fast that he accidentally tripped, faced with his suddenly affectionate mother. Cardi was also a bit flustered. "You never cared about me before? Why pretend now?" After saying that, he ran away angrily, leaving Liar completely bewildered. Even until nighttime, she was still thinking about the day's events, wondering if Cardi's injury had gotten better. It seems their relationship was worse than she had imagined. But sudden closeness would indeed make her son panic. She needed to take it step by step. Seeing the letter on the table, she thought of a good idea. She gave the letter to the maid to deliver, hoping this would bring her closer to Cardi. The next day, Cardi, just waking up, saw a gift placed nearby. His mouth complained, but his hands were already in action. Opening it, he found a teddy bear, a letter, and a pink box of ointment. He opened the letter. It was full of Liar's concern and motherly love. Cardi was confused. His mother, who had always found him troublesome before, why had she suddenly become so affectionate? He didn't notice someone else had entered the room. Grumbling, he stuffed the letter into a drawer. Little did he know, the servant had seen through everything. He always kept the letters. Should we throw away the gift as usual? Cardi hesitated as he looked at the teddy bear. He threw away the box but kept the doll in his room, still pouting stubbornly. "It's not because Mom sent it. I just like teddy bears." He even asked the servant to help deliver a reply. On the other side, Liar was very excited to receive the reply, thinking that her efforts over many days had finally paid off. But when she opened it, it read, "Don't send any more letters or gifts." However, even a rejection was a response. She still needed to take it slow. She decided to put aside the matter of winning over her husband for now. Cardi was the priority, so she asked where Cardi was now. She was told he was in the courtyard. Could it be that he wants to see me? She quickly got dressed and headed to the courtyard. Sure enough, the little one was sitting there alone. Looking at the prepared pastries, he hadn't touched a bite. "Were you waiting for me?" Cardi, blushing, said stubbornly, "No, this is just where I usually come. Then I'll just watch you eat from behind. I won't disturb Cardi's rest at all." So she quickly moved to the back, watching her son eat desserts with adoring eyes. Cardi is especially cute today too. However, a week later, Liar fell silent looking at a table full of invitations. She quickly wrote copy-pasted replies. Now wasn't the time for socializing. Watching Cardi eat cake in the courtyard was very time-consuming. She even wrote an observation diary for this purpose. "Today I saw him frowning. So cute. When I talked to Cardi and he ignored me, he looked so cute. Today I greeted Cardi and he nodded. So cute." This strange train of thought made even the maid sigh. Has Madam hit her head? Isn't this more like an enemy diary? She hesitated, suggesting, "Should we show it to the young master?" Unexpectedly, this sparked Liar's interest. "Do you think showing it to Cardi will make us closer?" She couldn't wait to go out and show it to her son, leaving behind a bewildered maid. Has Madam gone mad? Who would have thought this could actually improve their relationship? With a teddy bear lollipop, Liar successfully entered her son's room. Surprisingly, the interior didn't look like a child's room at all. But she unexpectedly found the teddy bear she had given, lying obediently on the bed. The little one tried to cover it with a pillow, saying, "I just haven't had time to throw it away." "So, what are you here for?" Liar proudly took out her diary. "This is what Mom wrote. Do you want to see?" The world-destroying psychopath. The male lead actually loved sweets as a child. Liar looked at the well-behaved boy before her, still finding it hard to connect him with that cruel male lead. She thought perhaps it was the lack of motherly love from childhood that caused this. Since she had transmigrated to become the child's mother, she should raise him to be a normal child. Seeing his shy reaction to the diary just now, he should still be an innocent child who doesn't understand love. He surely couldn't do something like imprisoning someone, right? At that moment, a flock of pigeons flew across the sky. Liar casually asked her son, "What would you do if you encountered a precious bird?" Cardi replied nonchalantly, "Then I'd create an exquisite birdcage." Liar was still happy, thinking her son was kind-hearted and knew to make a beautiful home for the bird. Then she heard Cardi continue, "Since it's a precious bird, it should be locked up, unable to go anywhere. Beautiful things should be kept for admiration." This statement greatly shocked Liar. She wanted to take back her previous thoughts. Now he seemed exactly like the male lead's childhood self. He innocently asked, "Mom, why aren't you saying anything?" Liar could only laugh awkwardly. Cardi's thoughts surprised Mom a little. Inside, she was panicking. Where did it go wrong? Was the male lead different from others, even as a child? What should she do now? Since then, Liar had been pondering every day how to properly educate the child. So much so that she didn't hear the maid calling her several times. "Madam, what's wrong? Do you have something troubling you?" Liar thought for a moment and decided not to tell the maid. Unexpectedly, the maid guessed, "Is it because the master is coming back soon?" The maid's words suddenly dawned on Liar. The master she mentioned was her husband, right? Child rearing should be done by both parents. She should find an opportunity to talk to him about this. She had already formulated a plan to approach her husband for the sake of the child. So she asked when the Duke would return. "Probably in these couple of days. We'll be moving to another place." This confused Liar. What did that mean? Recently, Madam has been very loving towards the young master. The atmosphere in the mansion has improved a lot, so I want to ask Madam a favor. Could you welcome the master when he returns? Liar felt like crying. How bad was the original owner's relationship with her husband? So she agreed without hesitation. After all, a poor marital relationship would affect the child too. She told the people of the Duke's mansion, "I will hold a grand welcoming ceremony. My lovely child absolutely cannot become someone with blood-stained hands. Since I become this mother, I must save her." The maid was overjoyed to hear this news. She rushed off to make preparations. Liar happily hummed while handling documents, when suddenly she realized something. "What's my husband's name?" Meanwhile, the Duke, who was almost home, became melancholic. "Will I be shut out again this time? I wonder if he's home." Unexpectedly, he saw many people standing at the entrance of the Duke's mansion. The Duke was very shocked. This was the first time anyone had welcomed him, and his wife had come personally. "Welcome back, Duke. I've been waiting for you." The Duke stood still for a long time. Suddenly he spoke. "Am I hallucinating? Quick, call a doctor." The knight quickly reminded him, "This isn't a hallucination." The Duke still couldn't believe it, staring at Liar, until Liar reminded him, "It's quite cold outside. Shall we go in?" Perhaps it was due to the fall that damaged her brain. After much mental preparation, he decided to go in. Liar specifically asked the maid to leave them alone. The Duke looked around warily. Why isn't there anyone here? But he saw his smiling wife. It was the first time he'd seen her smile like this. His hand involuntarily reached out to touch his wife's shoulder. "Let's go eat first." The Duke was puzzled. "Is there something in the dining room?" Liar smiled and pulled out a chair. "I have something to tell you." The Duke's grip on the chair tightened. Indeed, she only acts this way when she wants something. After the intimate welcome, they ate in sullen silence. Liar was also depressed. What suddenly happened? He was too cold towards his wife who had prepared everything. Angrily cutting her steak, she pondered how to start a conversation. Duke, I have something to say." The Duke remained expressionless. "Then say it." Mayhan had to force herself to speak. The expedition must have been tough. It's certainly not an easy task. The Duke put down his knife and fork. "Don't you actually wish I had been injured? Be honest. What do you want?" Mayhan could only smile outwardly, while inwardly she wanted to punch him. This guy was way too guarded. "I want to talk to you about our child's education." Faced with his wife's sudden change, the Duke found it hard to believe. "Don't you hate me? Why are you pretending to be intimate?" Mayhan rushed over anxiously to explain. "No, I'm not pretending," because she was too anxious. The next moment she suddenly fell straight down. A girl unexpectedly transmigrated into the male lead's crazy mother. and gained an ugly tsundra husband to prevent the child from going astray. Liar decided to win over both husband and child. While explaining, she suddenly fainted due to her anxiety. Fortunately, the Duke rushed to support his wife. Liar wanted to say more, but her stomach hurt too much to speak. The man who had been sarcastic towards his wife just moments ago could no longer contain his feelings and cried out, anxiously asking why she suddenly became like this. Liar couldn't help but retort, "How dare you ask? I welcomed you so warmly, but you didn't thank me. You even had a sour face during dinner. How could my recently recovered body handle this?" The Duke turned his face away, looking sad. "Don't you hate me? Whenever I get close, you scream at me to get lost." He held Liar's hand. "You seem to have forgotten everything. Your hand felt cold just now. Even if you don't like it, let's stay like this for now." The doctor, who rushed and panicked, broke this ambiguous moment. The Duke also left at the right time. Liar's carefully prepared plan to approach her husband for their son's sake had completely failed. She never imagined it would be so difficult to get close to the two men in her family. Early the next morning, Liar was awakened by birdsong, trying hard to review yesterday's plan. It seems a cozy dinner won't work now. Her stomach was still churning. She had to quickly think of another plan. Just then, someone knocked on the door. Liar was puzzled as she had instructed not to let anyone in. If someone was coming now, it must be Cardi or the Duke. With an excited heart, she opened the door. She saw her adorable son holding a teddy bear lollipop. Outwardly calm, her heart was doing somersaults. Her son must have come because she was sick. Facing his excited mother, the little one turned his face away, tsundra style. "Eat it quickly, you'll feel better after eating." Liar smiled as she took it. "Thank you, son, for thinking of mom." Faced with his mom's beauty attack, Cardi's face immediately turned red. He said contradictorily, "It's not like I wanted to come. You called me here." Liar knew the little one's true feelings, but didn't expose him. "Either way, I'm thankful Cardi came." The little one kept staring at Liar with a red face. Suddenly, he crossed his arms like a little adult. "If you're tired to the point of indigestion, don't eat with Dad." Liar thought it was the little one's concern and smiled, explaining, "I'll get used to it eventually." Unexpectedly, Cardi's face darkened. "You say you'll still eat with him?" Liar inwardly wailed, "I don't want to either. It's all for you." But Cardi suddenly shouted, "Aren't you going to be with Dad? Will mealtimes always be like this from now on?" He quickly ran away after saying that. Liar immediately realized the little one might be jealous of his dad. She rushed forward and hugged the angry Cardi. For Mom, Cardi is the most important. The time spent with Cardi is more precious than with anyone else. Looking at her silent son, she thought he still disliked her. Unexpectedly, the next moment he hugged her. "Mom's sick, so she needs to sleep well. Remember to eat my chocolate. You know, having such a cute child is such a happy thing." A few days later, Liar finally recovered and prepared a gift for Cardi. It was something she made after consulting with the head chef. She hoped Cardi would like it. With high expectations, she came to the courtyard and found the little one was indeed there. Seeing Liar arrive, he asked about her health. After sitting down, she took out the handmade cake. The little one's eyes lit up instantly upon seeing it. He eagerly picked it up to taste. The next moment, his little face was full of worry. Under their expectant gaze, he said it tasted terrible. But upon learning it was made by his mom, he started eating enthusiastically. Liar couldn't even stop him. While eating, he explained, "I'm fine. I'm eating because I want to." After finishing one piece, he wiped his mouth and asked for another. Liar looked at the little one opposite her, touched. This wasn't a crazy male lead at all. He was just an ordinary, adorable child. "Thank you. Mom will keep trying her best." The next day, Liar decided to continue implementing her plan to get closer to her husband for her son's sake. So she eagerly knocked on the office door. The Duke's assistant came to open the door. Liar carefully walked to the desk. "I have something unclear. Can we talk privately?" Unexpectedly, the Duke directly refused his wife, saying, "I'm very busy." This cold tone was like snow drifting on a winter day. He added, "Didn't you hear? I'm busy, please leave." As a perceptive employee, the assistant quickly stated he would leave. "That's not necessary. Return to your position." This left Liar speechless. He didn't even have time to chat with his wife. In the end, she could only leave reluctantly. As soon as she left, she mentally unleashed a series of kung fu moves on the Duke. It seemed the Duke wasn't easy to win over. She'd have to find another excuse to come back. The next day, Liar was in her room thinking about which fairy tale to read to her son in the afternoon. Just then, a maid handed her a letter. Opening it, she found it was a thank you note for attending a child's birthday party. Lyra was puzzled. Hadn't she declined all previous invitations? Suddenly, she remembered the one she had forgotten due to chatting with a maid. She wailed helplessly. Ah, the birthday party. Unexpectedly, the maid who overheard became enthusiastic. Are we preparing a birthday party for the young master? Although it's early, I'll do my best. However, the name Marquis fell sounded familiar. Suddenly, she recalled he was the blonde, handsome man from the book, working at the Land Management Bureau. But if it's the Land Management Bureau, isn't he the one killed by Cardi? Suddenly, Lyra felt an indescribable emotion towards her son. Surely Cardi wouldn't kill him now, right? That's right. I'll definitely raise him to be a normal child. Meanwhile, the Duke was still waiting for his wife to come. Since the carriage incident, he had been acting strangely. He used to be cold and distant. He had never smiled at her before. But recently, his wife always found reasons to see him, always wearing a smile. He wondered if his wife would come to see him and smile today. He was so distracted he didn't notice the ink staining the book. This lovesick behavior scared his assistant. Madam seems later than usual today. Shall I go check? Unexpectedly, the Duke stood up, excusing himself that it was stuffy inside and he needed a walk, leaving the unfortunate assistant to handle a pile of documents alone. At the door, he reminded, if you're looking for Madam, she often goes to the courtyard. Have a nice time together. Just as he reached the library, he heard his son shouting liar. Then his wife's voice. Why is our Cardi calling Mom a liar? You always go to him first. Didn't you say I was the most important? Do you like being with Dad that much? Hearing this, the Duke became unsettled. However, before he could rejoice, he heard Lyra say, of course, being with Cardi is the best. The little one was still unsatisfied and pouted. Lyra took her son's hand. Actually, I wanted to ask Cardi if he wants to attend Marquis Fell's birthday party with Mom. Do we need to bring a gift? After hearing the affirmative answer, tears involuntarily welled up in his eyes. You've never prepared a birthday gift for me. This also made Lyra suddenly recall the original's memories. On his birthday, the little one only wanted a blessing from his mother, but was met with cold treatment. She hadn't expected the original to be so harsh to the child. Just thinking about it was heartbreaking. Lyra tried hard to comfort Cardi. I'm sorry, Mom shouldn't have treated you like that. From now on, I'll never leave you alone again. It took a lot of effort to stop the little one from crying. Should we have a grand celebration for our Cardi's birthday party? The little one was initially reluctant, but hearing there would be a huge birthday cake, he couldn't help but be tempted. Though his mouth still said whatever proudly, Lyra hadn't expected that the gift Cardi wanted most was his birthday wish. Thinking of how he was before, Lyra's heart broke even more. Then tomorrow make time for Mom. We'll have a party in Cardi's favorite courtyard. The Duke, who had been hiding outside the door, also heard the key information. Tomorrow, they would prepare a party in the courtyard. For this, he pressured his assistant to work overtime to complete all tasks in advance. The next day, he arrived at the courtyard early. He discovered they hadn't planned to invite him at all, and were already at the stage of singing the birthday song. The little one blew out the candles amidst everyone's blessings. Lyra felt like someone was staring at her. She turned her head and met the Duke's gaze. Your Grace, do you have any business here? What are you all doing? Lyra pointed at the crowd in the courtyard. As you can see, we're having a birthday party. Cardi said he dislikes crowds, so only some close people are here. The Duke suddenly felt a bit upset. Why do you always do unusual things? Lyra couldn't help but complain internally. The person who always said he was busy, why did he suddenly come here? So the two began a black and white battle. For some reason, Lyra could only occasionally recall the original's affairs, and was unaware when facing the Duke's questioning. But she didn't forget to invite the Duke to participate in Cardi's education. However, she heard the Duke ask an unrelated question. From just now, you've been calling our son by his nickname. Why do you always call me Duke? Could it be that the Duke doesn't know my name? A girl married for 10 years, yet doesn't know her husband's name. Faced with her husband's question, Lyra was stunned. She had specifically asked if it was a woman before, who knew she had never called him by name and ended up forgetting his full name. She initially wanted to play dumb and brush it off, but the Duke kept pressing. In a panic, she had to call out the nickname Kiri. The Duke's heart immediately started racing. He turned his face away, trying to hide his reaction. Lyra thought she might have said something wrong. Unable to recall the full name, she had impulsively used a nickname. She awkwardly explained, because I want to call you Kiri. Is that okay? The Duke wasn't listening to the explanation anymore. His mind was filled with thoughts. He used to call me Duke. Now he calls me Kiri. Could it be that he's opening up to me? If this continues, I might. He blushed and said, I have something to do. I'll go first. And so he left Liar's sight, walking awkwardly. As soon as the Duke left, Cardi came running out. He grabbed his mother's skirt. What did you talk about with Dad? We didn't talk about anything. She wondered if the child wanted his father's blessing. She hadn't thought about that at all. So she crouched down and apologized to her son. Are you upset because Mom didn't invite Dad to the birthday party? Actually, Dad wanted to give Cardi his blessings too. He's just too busy and left without saying hello. The little one didn't want his father's blessing at all. He just wanted his mother to go back and eat cake together. Liar couldn't help but shout internally, our Cardi is so cute. The little one ate the cake in small bites under everyone's gaze. He didn't forget to ask his mother if she would give him blessings in the future. His adorable appearance melted everyone's hearts. I will give Cardi blessings every year from now on. The future birthday parties will be even grander. Liar involuntarily shed tears. A voice in her heart said, I hope you can forgive me once, even if I can't hear it. Cardi was also panicked, seeing his mother suddenly cry. I heard eating sweets makes you feel better. This cake is delicious. Try some. Liar opened her mouth and ate the cake from Cardi's hand. She didn't know if it was because of the strange memories that had just intruded, but she felt she shouldn't be this happy. A few days later, Liar finished replying to social letters, but she didn't know where to go. Her son was unhappy because she came late, demanding that she must come to him first next time. On the other hand, Liar also went to see the Duke every day as usual. This time, he unexpectedly kept her there. But he asked, can you come to me first this time? Liar was driven crazy by this father and son. How could they be so alike? She only had one body. How could she go to two places? While Liar was troubled, the maid suggested a solution. And so the current scene unfolded. The three of them were in the same room, but not saying a word. Liar pretended to drink tea, unable to understand how it had come to this. This couldn't go on, so she wanted to speak to ease the atmosphere. But as soon as she uttered two words, both of them turned their heads and asked what she wanted. Liar was taken aback and awkwardly said, I wasn't calling you Duke. I meant Kiri. She didn't expect the Duke to like this casual nickname so much. Liar had to say again, I was calling our Cardi. Without even looking, she could feel the Duke's gaze on her. Liar chose to ignore it. Do you remember we agreed to go celebrate? Cardi, feeling triumphant, said smugly. You mean the one where just Mom and I went? He deliberately emphasized just the two of us. The Duke, hearing this, unconsciously broke his pen. He couldn't focus on work at all. To ensure Cardi wouldn't bully the Marquis, Liar made an agreement with Cardi to get along well with children his age. Cardi obediently agreed to his mother's request. His docility made Liar want to praise him profusely. But before she could finish, she was interrupted by papers flying around the room and the Duke's loud coughing. The Duke, who appeared cold and imposing on the surface, was actually a childish person competing with his son for affection behind the scenes. Seeing his wife talking to their son all the time, he immediately created a huge commotion to attract attention. Seeing this scene, Liar could only go over to check on him. Are you all right? Should I call a doctor? The Duke didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed his wife's hand. Do you like our son that much? Liar was confused by the Duke's sudden question. Of course, he's our son. Hearing this, both were happy. One because of the other because of course, like son. Liar didn't expect these two to be so easily satisfied. They were completely different from their initially guarded selves. The next day, mother and son wore matching outfits to attend the birthday party. But the little one secretly removed his tie underneath. He whined for his mom to help him tie it. Just as she finished, they were startled by someone suddenly appearing behind them. Are you here to see us off? The Duke quickly made up an excuse about having temporary business outside. Even his assistant shook his head at this lame excuse. In crucial moments, they had to rely on him. Madam, it's truly amazing. Your travel route happens to be the same as the Duke's. Why don't you ride in the carriage together? Before he could finish, Cardi directly refused. Liar also felt today's carriage was too small and might not fit everyone. But seeing the strange atmosphere between them today, she guessed the Duke wanted to get closer to his son, while Cardi kept refusing due to shyness. As a mother, of course she had to help, so she suggested preparing another carriage for the Duke and Cardi to ride together. Their expressions instantly changed. They immediately walked in opposite directions. Liar, since she might have said something wrong again, she could only silently get into the carriage. But the little one still seemed upset. Liar had to use her persuasion tactics. I heard that Marquis Finn's always has super delicious desserts at every party. Sure enough, at the mention of desserts, Cardi's eyes lit up. I specially asked them to make Cardi's favorite walnut pie. The little one finally couldn't help but show an expectant expression. Then he immediately realized he was supposed to be angry. He turned his face away, Sundara style. I'm not a kid who likes to eat. Soon, the carriage arrived at Marquis Finn's mansion. The little one got out and gentlemanly helped his mom out of the carriage. As soon as they entered, they saw many exquisite desserts. Liar saw Cardi was delighted, yet trying to pretend he wasn't happy. It was so cute. Lady Finns came forward to greet them. Liar was very interested in the Marquis photo wall. It could turn photos into albums just like a camera. She eagerly asked Lady Marquis where she could buy one. Her face couldn't help but flush with excitement. Cardi coldly patted her, saying, "I won't let you off." She could only regret not being able to capture such cuteness. Next, the two of them entered their own private battlefield. Liar followed Lady Marquis to the garden. Before she could sit down, she was met with sarcasm. "This is the person from Duke Roper's family. Since everyone's here, can I ask a question? I bought a dog. I don't know if it's because it's expensive, but it doesn't listen to its owner." Then she looked at Liar. "What do you think, Lady Ropera?" Liar was confused by her sudden question. She had no idea what this person was talking about, but still honestly gave her opinion. "Maybe you should patiently teach him, make him learn to behave." Two people nearby couldn't help but interject. "I think it's not worth the effort for a dog. If it's not obedient, it should be dealt with immediately. No matter how expensive, if a dog doesn't know its place, it's better to find another one." Liar immediately realized their words had hidden meanings. The dog and owner referred to her and the Duke. What was wrong with this woman? Fortunately, after they finished speaking, they didn't continue the topic. Liar decided not to pay attention to it anymore. Unexpectedly, the fat woman came to pick a fight again. "I think, if the Duke allows you to invite guests to the mansion, husbands should listen to their wives. I think you can invite me." Liar made excuses about not having the Duke's permission. "It's not convenient, oh my. It seems the Duke really..." Before she could finish, the Marquise interrupted. "I also have a very cute pet parrot, but sometimes I can't understand what it says. It always says some rude things out of nowhere. I don't know where it learned them from." Liar was moved to tears on the side. The Marquise was on her side. She immediately chimed in, asking, "Then how do you correct him? What can I do? After all, it's just a bird. How can I get rid of him just for a few rude words? It's not like he's having an affair with a royal knight behind my back." The fat woman nearby immediately blushed upon hearing this. Seeing her own affair exposed, she hurriedly left the garden, saying she had something to take care of. Her little followers also quickly fled. After this incident, Liar's admiration for the Marquise was like a flowing river. Only the two of them were left in the courtyard, facing his enemy from the previous life. The boy's first move was to compare his mother's praise. Cardi was eating walnut pie at the table. He was suddenly approached and sized up by the boy. Cardi was slightly disdainful. If not for his mother's special instructions, he wouldn't play with such an immature child. But he still generously took out a piece to share with the boy. "This is walnut pie specially made by our chef for my party. Aren't you envious?" "Not at all." After saying this, Cardi remembered his mother's words about getting along well with other children. He had no choice but to silently listen to the boy's chatter. However, when he heard, "My mom praises me every day." "Does your mom do that?" Cardi couldn't help but compete. "My mom often praises me. It's almost annoying." "I don't think so. My mom must be better than yours." "No way. You don't know how much my mom praises me." And so, the two kept comparing for 10 minutes. The conversation was interrupted by a fat child. He pointed at Cardi and said, "My mom says he's a wild dog with barbarian blood. Playing with him will curse you." Hearing this, Cardi only asked, "Can you take responsibility for what you said?" This scared the fat child into a cold sweat. At this time, the fleeing fat woman also came to find her child. Seeing this, Cardi couldn't help but comment, "He really looks like his mother." On the other side, the two mothers were still exchanging parenting tips. Suddenly, Liar felt a splitting headache. Strange memories invaded. A man pointed at young Liar and yelled, "You must use your face to establish connections with nobles." It seemed the man was the original owner's father. After recovering, she prepared to find Cardi. On the way home, following the marquise to the courtyard, she was still wondering if Cardi would fight. After all, the scenes from the novel were vivid in her mind. But she heard news that Cardi was crying. She immediately ran to the scene. Seeing his mom, Cardi also cried and ran into her embrace. "Who made my child cry?" In Lyre's view, bullying her was fine, but Cardi was absolutely off limits. "Mrs. Charlie, you'd better explain what happened." The fat woman, trembling, stammered an explanation. "My child made a small mistake, saying your son has barbarian blood, but you know it's just children's jokes. Do you think this is something that can be ignored? I'll say this only once. Please apologize to my son." Seeing she couldn't muddle through, the fat woman had to grab her son to apologize. Faced with the crying, adorable child, which mother could resist questioning those who bullied him? Under Lyre's glare and the fat woman's coercion, the boy reluctantly came out to apologize. Unexpectedly, the fat woman tried to reach out and touch Cardi. Lyre immediately protected the child behind her and warned the fat woman, "I don't allow people who hit children to touch my child. I will leave this matter for my husband to handle." In Lyre's eyes, the child wasn't at fault. The fault lay with parents who didn't know how to teach their children to be good. No one can be so careless in raising children. That's why I don't forgive you. After saying this, she took the little one home. She continued to comfort Cardi in the carriage. She had thought the crazy male lead from the novel would be a bully, but Cardi was still just a child after all. "I'm sorry, Mom should have been with you." Although the little one had just cried, he didn't forget to boast to his mom. He got along well with the other kids, so Mom shouldn't leave again. These words made Lyre feel heartbroken. Since she came here, she had been trying to make up for the maternal love Cardi lacked, but she still couldn't understand why the original owner treated the child like this. In Lyre's heart, Cardi was no longer the male lead of this world, but completely her own son. At this moment, the little one suddenly pouted angrily. "I kept my promise to you. Don't I get a gift?" Lyre playfully pretended there wasn't any. The little one's pout reached the sky. Hearing Mom say of course there was, and he could make a wish, he immediately cheered up. "Then I want Mom to read me fairy tales every night." Lyre was puzzled. She didn't expect Cardi to have such a small wish. That child said his mom reads to him every day. Lyre then understood that the little one was comparing moms. "I hope our Cardi can have fun next time too." It was already evening when they returned to the Duke's mansion. The weather was getting warmer. They could go boating together to cool off. Cardi was happy to hear together, but this together better not include Dad. "I don't want to go with Dad. I only want to go with Mom, just the two of us." However, Lyre hadn't forgotten that a harmonious family is key to raising good children. "Mom will try hard for you." Back in her room that night, Lyre finally had time to think about the day's events. She didn't know why Mrs. Charlie had such hostility, even calling the Duke a barbarian. She guessed that perhaps the original owner was forced into marriage, so she didn't like her husband and child when she came through. She had no memories of the original owner, only some past habits. Lyre found it all rather strange. She could only ask the maid what it meant to be called a barbarian in the Empire, who knew this question would frighten the maid greatly. The man, just for an exorbitant bride price, sold his daughter to the ugly Duke. Since coming here, Lyre couldn't recall any of the original owner's memories. When encountering issues, she could only ask others. The maid was shocked to hear this question. Lyre had to explain that she heard it at the Countess's place. Mrs. Zadi's son said that Cardi has barbarian blood, and those who touch him will be cursed. Since that accident, she couldn't remember many things. The maid hadn't realized that her mistress had lost her memory during this time. No wonder she changed so much and was so good to the young master. Lyre also heard the concern in the maid's words, thinking she would revert to her old self if she regained her memory. She firmly said she wouldn't change. Only now did she know how important Cardi was. But the maid still thought this shouldn't be known to the Duke. If the Duke knew his wife was only good to her because she lost her memory, he would surely be heartbroken and close himself off. However, the Duke wouldn't hate the mistress. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spent so much gold to marry you. Lyre was shocked to hear this. She hadn't expected the original owner to be sold by her father. She had thought the Duke had forcibly taken her. It turned out the Duke was the one who rescued the original owner from a dark family, so she agreed with the maid's idea. To avoid suspicion, she wouldn't ask about this personally, but let the maid report any further results. After the maid left, Lyre tried to recall the original owner's memories, but still came up empty. Cardi was a love-starved child. He said he didn't care, but he always hoped for his mother's love. The Duke also seemed cold, but he was taking care of him in unseen ways. They were both very good people. What memories did the original owner have to treat them like this? A week later, summer arrived. The maid excitedly brought good news about the Zadi Count's family. Mrs. Zadi was no longer a countess now. Liar hadn't expected things to develop so quickly. The maid leaned in with more explosive news. Mrs. Zadi had an affair with a guard. Moreover, the child at the party wasn't Count Zadi's biological son. So what Mrs. Finzer said at the party was true. No wonder Mrs. Zadi fled in panic at the time. But all of this was their own doing. She decided to go see her dear son. The maid informed her that Cardi was playing in the library, so she prepared to bring him some desserts. But when she arrived at the library, it was unusually quiet. Calling Cardi's name yielded no response. Finally, she found her son sleeping in a corner. She initially wanted to wake Cardi to sleep in bed, but touching Cardi's little face, it was burning hot and his skin looked flushed. Liar instantly panicked. Not knowing if this was due to fever or fire magic, she could only frantically carry Cardi to find a doctor. The boy was willing to make himself sick just to experience having a mother by his side. At the last gathering, his little friend not only boasted that his mother would tell bedtime stories every day, and when he was sick, his mother would stay by his side, holding his hand. Cardi had never experienced this feeling before. He also wanted his mother to be by his side when he was sick, although he thought this way inside. On the surface, he criticized the boy for being unhealthy. He wasn't weak like ordinary children, and he was sure his mother gave him more love. Unexpectedly, he really got sick due to the magic running wild in his body. After the doctor's examination, it was found to be just temporary body pain. However, this condition might continue for a while. But Liar was still very worried. Cardi's body was now as hot as fire. The doctor explained that the fire magic in Cardi's body was growing, and his body had to adapt to the sudden changes this way. They could only do some basic treatment for Cardi. Even so, Liar was still very worried. So she decided to stay with Cardi tonight and take care of him personally. Due to the fever, he slept restlessly, crying that he was hot and his head hurt. Liar's heart ached seeing the little one like this. In his daze, Cardi opened his eyes and saw his mother. Unexpectedly, Cardi called her mom for the first time in this situation. The little one pitifully said that he actually didn't get along well with other children. He hoped Liar wouldn't hate him and he would try harder in the future. Liar quickly hugged the child and comforted him, saying Mom would never hate Cardi. She was glad he remembered the promise with Mom. From now on, he didn't have to force himself to get along with other children. Cardi's happiness was the most important thing. A few minutes later, she finally comforted the crying child. Putting Cardi into the blanket, she told him to rest more to recover quickly. When he's better, we'll go boating as promised. It will surely be fun together. But Cardi suddenly asked Mom to read storybooks until he fell asleep. Although Liar didn't understand, she picked up the book. And so, with Liar's reading voice, Cardi gradually fell asleep. Unexpectedly, a troublesome person came at this time. The Duke suddenly entered, shouting why Liar wasn't sleeping yet. Liar quickly gestured for him to lower his voice, surprised that the Duke wasn't asleep yet. She thought he must have come out of concern for Cardi, taking time to visit even after working late into the night. But he seemed to like hiding his emotions. She told the Duke not to worry. She would stay here all night. This, however, raised the Duke's suspicion. The previouser would never do this. Liar explained that she wanted to make some changes. But you always hated me and Cardi before. Why were you angry that day when the child cried? Even if that was true, you should have remained calm. He suddenly asked to hold Liar's hand. Liar suspiciously extended her hand. The Duke questioned again. You never let me touch you before. Now you not only call me by name, but are willing to let me hold your hand. Did you lose your memory after that accident? The ugly Duke finally realized his wife had lost her memory. If it was the previous Liar, she would always be cold and distant. She wouldn't be this gentle and warm. Liar didn't expect that the secret she wanted to bury in her heart would be discovered. She was afraid that the Duke would be hurt if he knew the truth. The Duke thought that without those past events, perhaps Liar would continue to be nice to him like this. He was very greedy for Liar's smile, which was like flowers blooming in spring, and the gentle voice calling his name. He hoped that Liar would continue to treat him like this before her memory returned, even if it was just a temporary gentleness. Faced with her husband's heartfelt confession, Liar felt breathless. His arms were hugging too tightly. She still answered the Duke seriously. If this is what you wish, I will do it. I know you are a gentle and considerate husband. Your coldness was also out of fear. Fear that when I regain my memory, I would continue to hate you like before, and would forget everything happening now. The Duke was touched. His wife knew everything he was thinking in his heart. Hearing his wife's promise that she wouldn't forget her kindness, even if she regained her memory, he felt somewhat reassured. I'm very afraid that all of this will suddenly disappear. If you stop talking to me altogether, I really wouldn't know what to do. Seeing the Duke like this, Liar couldn't help but laugh. This was completely different from the cold and sharp-tongued Duke at the beginning. Now he was very adorable. The Duke explained that at that time, he didn't know Liar had lost her memory and thought she was just playing with him. Only now did he know that wasn't the case. And then the sudden heartfelt confession. I always look forward to your smile. Even when you were cold to me, I still loved you. No matter how harsh you were to me before, your smile could still melt my heart. Liar was embarrassed by the Duke's sudden closeness and confession. Who wouldn't be moved by a handsome and wealthy man right in front of them, saying sweet words? Although she was happy about the progress in her relationship with the Duke, this position was too embarrassing. Moreover, Cardi was sleeping nearby. She stammered, asking the Duke not to get so close, only to be mercilessly teased. How did my wife become a stutterer? And your face is so red. He even mischievously moved closer. Liar quickly stopped him. Didn't you come to see Cardi? I came to see Cardi, but I was also worried. Liar pouted and complained to the Duke. You never said nice things before. Every time I went to your office, you refused, saying you were busy with work. The Duke patiently explained that he actually wanted to come see Liar more. He knew this happy time would pass in an instant, so he cherished it more. He was actually very afraid but couldn't bear to stay away. From now on, I won't run away. I will always love you. The Duke, who appeared cold and domineering on the surface, was frantically competing with his son for affection behind the scenes. After confessing, he always wanted to be close to his wife Liar. Liar didn't expect the Duke to be so clingy. In order to stay here with him, he even handed over his work to the poor employees. He flirted wildly with his wife, ignoring their sleeping son nearby. Fortunately, Cardi woke up startled from his sleep. Liar quickly turned to check on the little one's condition. Cardi said sleepily that his head was very dizzy. Liar brought a wet towel to put on his forehead. The little one didn't forget to target his dad. If only Mom was here by my side now, I would definitely get better faster. Hearing this, the Duke felt uneasy. Sure enough, the next second Liar tactfully asked the Duke to leave first. To prove he was still useful here, the Duke wanted to say he had similar situations when he was young. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by his son's whining. Mom, he's so noisy. My head is so dizzy. The Duke now felt absurd. He didn't expect his son's acting to be Oscar-worthy, hiding in Liar's arms while smirking at his dad. And he could only watch from the side, with the risk of being sent away. I wanted to say something more, but was stopped by Liar again. Cardi needs rest. Please leave first. The Duke had to leave dejectedly after hearing this. The victorious Cardi became even more smug. The next day, as soon as the sun came out, Liar was persuaded by the servants sent by the Duke to go back to sleep. After sleeping for a while, she had been working until now. She was inquiring about Cardi's current condition. Then she heard someone knocking on the door. Liar's first reaction was that the Duke had come. Then she made herself more alert. Soon, the maid brought Cardi in. Liar didn't expect it to be her son who came. She hurriedly came forward to check his physical condition. The little one said he felt very lonely without Mom by his side. Liar was very gratified. Cardi finally opened up to her. The little one tugged at his mom's skirt, asking if she was busy. If it doesn't affect you, I want to stay with Mom. Liar worried that the little one would be bored while she was dealing with matters. Cardi happily said it was okay. He went to bring a chair next to the desk. I'll sit here quietly, wait for Mom to finish work, and then read me fairy tales. It went on like this until it started raining outside. The maid remarked that it had been raining often lately. Liar remembered her lake trip plan. She hadn't taken Cardi yet. It seemed she needed to change the date. Cardi, eating cake, said indifferently, I don't recommend it. But Dad is definitely very busy. He has no time to go. He always has a lot of official business, and he doesn't like doing these things. Just as he finished speaking, the person in question appeared before the two of them. Liar was startled by the sudden appearance. As Cardi said, I am indeed very busy, but you are always my first priority. I will definitely make time to go with you. Cardi then shifted his target to the carriage. Mom will be in the same carriage accompanying me, right? Before Liar could answer, the Duke said, we're husband and wife. We should be together. Then the big and small one started to argue over the carriage. Liar was caught in the middle, pulled from both sides. They must coexist harmoniously. Only then can Cardi have a good family atmosphere. An idea suddenly appeared in her mind. She stood up and told them to stop arguing. Both of you, leave this room. Hearing this, both of them laughed. Father and son fought over winning affection. This childish behavior finally faced Liar's punishment. If you keep arguing, just get out. After saying this, she turned to her husband, John. How can you be so childish towards your child as a father? The Duke wanted to argue, but he was met with his wife's even harsher rebuke. After that, she looked at Cardi. You're also wrong in this. As a son, you can't talk to your dad like that. Dad also wants to spend more time with Cardi, but he has work that must be done as an adult. We should understand Dad too. Cardi felt very guilty after Mom's words. He immediately admitted his mistake to Mom, saying he wouldn't do it again. However, Liar didn't intend to let the father and son off so easily. Her mischievous expression made the two feel uneasy. Now you two must hold hands until you can get along peacefully. Their faces changed dramatically upon hearing this. Liar directly ignored their protests. She had the maid take the father and son to the hall. So the two arrived at the hall with expressionless faces. To fulfill Liar's request, the Duke directly picked up his son. This way, holding hands would be a bit easier. Cardi also pouted and gave his hand to his dad. He turned back, telling the maid to report this scene well to Mom. The Duke carried Cardi around the mansion. This unusual behavior caused a lot of discussion among everyone. The Duke was also embarrassed. He didn't expect there to be so many servants in the mansion. Cardi kept complaining, this is all because of Dad. If you had agreed to let me sit in the same carriage with Mom, we wouldn't be like this now. Faced with his son's complaints, the Duke just awkwardly turned his head away. He finally realized that Cardi was just a child of a few years old. He had treated him like this out of selfishness. No wonder his wife was angry. But Cardi never expected his dad to suddenly apologize. He looked at his dad with wide eyes in disbelief. Then he shyly turned his face away. Anyway, Mom still likes me more. The Duke wasn't to be outdone. Even if Liar likes you more, I'm still her husband. But her liking you more is just your misunderstanding. The maid behind them saw everything. Their relationship seemed to have become closer. After circling the mansion, they returned to the room. They found Liar already asleep on the table. Seeing this as a perfect opportunity to show his husband's strength, the Duke decisively picked up Liar, intending to take her back to the room. He found her unexpectedly light. The maid, watching the couple, couldn't help but ship them. She said the Duchess often worried about His Highness not eating well. Why don't you come eat together and take care of the Duchess? She even acted emotionally. The Duchess often loses her appetite eating alone. She's always wanted to eat with you, but didn't know how to ask. Oh my, I accidentally revealed this secret. It's my mistake. Hearing his wife wanted to eat with him, the Duke was overjoyed inside. He promised not to tell anyone about this. But is this true? Of course, I wouldn't lie to you. Satisfied with the answer, the Duke prepared to carry his wife back to the room. Unexpectedly, his son grabbed Mom's hand. She took care of me all night. I want to be with her too. The Duke had already anticipated his son wouldn't give up the chance. So the two of them together took Liar back to her room. Looking at the sleeping Liar, Cardi remarked how beautiful Mom looked. She's also very good to me now. The Duke agreed with his son. In the past, she would get angry at everyone. Now she's completely different. She even remembers my favorite cake flavor. Especially when reading, she's like an angel. The Duke proudly agreed with his son's words. This sudden praise made Liar, who was already awake, blush shyly. Although embarrassed, they seemed to be getting along well now. Should she open her eyes or pretend to be asleep? She finally decided to keep pretending to sleep, but after a while, she didn't hear any sound. She tentatively opened one eye to check the situation. She found father and son both looking at her in unison. In front of the woman, father and son began a crazy praise session. This made Liar, who was pretending to sleep, blush with embarrassment. It turned out they knew she was awake all along. Liar had no choice but to awkwardly pretend she didn't know anything. She asked if their relationship had improved. Cardi rushed to answer, because Mom wants us to be like this, we'll get better and better. In my eyes, you're the best mom in the whole world. If you're still tired, you can continue sleeping. But can I sleep with you? Hearing this, Liar immediately hugged the little one. The smug Cardi started taunting his dad again. I think you should leave now. Have you forgotten what Mom said? Don't talk to Dad like that. Cardi held Mom's hand shyly. I just like Mom so much. I want to be your favorite person. I don't mean to dislike Dad." Liar happily hugged the little one. The Duke, watching from the side, pitifully asked, "Can I sleep with you too?" Cardi generously patted the space next to him. "This time I'll agree. It's only because Mom wants us to get along better that I'm allowing it." And so the Duke also got his wish to sleep on the big bed. Not long after, little Cardi fell asleep. The heartwarming scene made the Duke feel unreal. Everything now felt like a dream. This was the scene he had fantasized about countless nights. He never thought it would actually become reality. And there was his wife's smiling face, asking him to promise to go boating in a few days. It reminded him of his childhood, when he would invite others to play together in a few days. He then hugged them both tightly. "This time I will definitely keep my promise." The next day, as soon as he started work, his assistant noticed his good mood. However, there was also an unusually large amount of work today. "We still have plenty of time. Why are you in such a rush to finish?" He unexpectedly learned about the master's plan to go boating. No wonder he had been personally investigating many places recently. The assistant, still wanting to gossip, was mercilessly sent back to work by the Duke. Just then, Liar knocked on the office door. Then a little one popped out, saying ruthlessly, "Dad's very busy. Maybe we should come back later." If the Duke had been 1 second late in saying, "Come in," Cardi would have pulled Mom away. After entering, Liar got straight to the point, asking the Duke if he had time to go boating together. The weather had been improving lately. The Duke, thinking of the warmth of getting up from bed this morning, wanted to dump all his work on his assistant right away. But on the surface, he remained calm. "I've already found a nice place. I'll make time to go together next week." Liar hadn't expected the Duke to plan ahead. The assistant nearby quickly chimed in, "I hope you and your family have a pleasant vacation. This must be why you've been working so hard lately. You even skipped your morning exercise to come to the office." A few days later, the maid prepared the travel meals early. For this outing, Liar had specially dressed up. At this time, Cardi also came running over wearing a matching blue outfit. After the last incident, the child still hadn't given up competing for affection. "Mom, I want to ride in the carriage with you." Liar saw through the little one's loneliness. "Our Cardi wants to sit next to Dad in the carriage, right?" Hearing this, Cardi pouted and said softly, "I just want to sit next to Mom." He no longer dared to complain about Mom's arrangements. Not far away, the Duke was already waiting in front of the carriage. Seeing his wife dressed differently than usual, her exposed shoulders made her blush. "The sun is so strong today. You should wear more, or you'll get sunburned." Then he looked elsewhere and said softly, "Clothes like this, it would be better if only I were around to see them." Liar suddenly felt shy. The Duke, with a bashful expression, said, "It's so strange to say things like this." Cardi interrupted at the right moment. "Mom, it's too hot. Let's go inside." The Duke immediately picked up Cardi, looking at his wife again. "I've cast a cooling spell inside the carriage. It's too hot outside. Let's hurry in." Liar offered her hand, not understanding why the Duke was smiling like that. Even more puzzling was that she found him more handsome now. And so, the three of them got into the carriage and set off. Compared to the atmosphere when they first met, now they seemed like a harmonious family of three. Soon, the carriage arrived at its destination. The Duke was the first to get off the carriage. He prepared to help his wife down, reminding her to be careful. Unexpectedly, his son took his hand instead. "Thank you, Dad." Looking at the smug Cardi, Liar couldn't help but chuckle. These two really liked to compete secretly. The Duke picked up his son without a word, ignoring Cardi's protests about wanting to help Mom off the carriage himself. He successfully helped his wife down. Cardi pouted in displeasure. The Duke had no intention of putting his son down. He also smoothly put his arm around his wife. "Let's go." Liar shyly asked how long it would take to get there. But her husband teasingly asked, "If you can't walk, should I carry you too?" Cardi quickly covered his dad's mouth. "Don't say anything else until we get to the boat." Seeing the adorable father-son duo, Liar looked forward to their next outing. A moment later, the three finally reached the lakeside. Liar was puzzled. The Duke didn't seem like it was his first time here. "That's because I've always wanted to come here with you. Today, I'll keep my promise from last time." The woman unexpectedly discovered her husband's secret. Liar thought the Duke's words sounded like a promise made long ago. The Duke explained it was from before they knew they would have a child. Liar hadn't expected her husband to want to keep a promise made so long ago. "I'd do anything for you." Faced with her husband's sudden confession, Liar's face turned red instantly. She tried to control herself, not wanting her heart to race every time she saw the Duke smile like that. Just then, the boat arrived. The Duke immediately carried Cardi onto it. Then he turned to help Liar, who was still on the shore. Once on board, the little one happily patted the seat beside him, urging his mom to come quickly. Isn't the scenery beautiful here? Yes, just like Cardi's eyes. Hearing this, Cardi excitedly looked at Lyre. He hadn't expected to be so beautiful in his mom's eyes. After the three settled on the boat, it sailed towards the middle of the lake. The boatman warned there might be slight rocking. Cardi immediately cuddled up to his mom, saying, "The boat's shaking so much. Mom, I'm scared." As Lyre hugged her son, she felt like something was missing from her hand. Suddenly, she realized she had forgotten the prepared lunch. Panicked, she wanted to ask the boatman to return. Not knowing what happened, the other two became very nervous, asking what was wrong. Lyre explained that she had left the food in the carriage. "That's important. I can't let my husband and son go hungry." The Duke smiled helplessly. "You're still so clumsy." Suddenly, an unfamiliar memory intruded. He seemed to have heard this phrase before. They had met when they were very young. The current memory should be from the original owner. Meanwhile, the Duke was still negotiating with the boatman. Lyre looked up to see her husband and son's worried gazes. She quickly reassured them that everything was fine. This was their first outing together. She couldn't ruin the atmosphere. However, she mischievously turned her head away, pretending to be angry. "Do you know how nervous I was about this outing?" The Duke was about to apologize, but then he saw Lyre hugging Cardi, smiling and asking the Duke to take them somewhere to eat. The Duke realized his wife was just teasing him. He smiled helplessly. "From now on, whatever my wife and son want, I'll buy it." He then turned to the boatman and asked to go to the nearest sandstone town. It was Lyre's first time hearing about a town here. The Duke seemed very familiar with the place. Moments later, they arrived at the town's dock. The Duke got off the boat, expressionlessly holding Cardi's hand. Seeing this, Lyre thought to herself, "Finally, we won't have to follow the tragic ending of the original story. Their father-son relationship is getting better." She looked up to see a big and a small hand in front of her, both saying the same thing, "Take my hand." Lyre had no choice but to hold both their hands in the middle. However, their elegant attire stood out in the town. They wanted to find a clothing store to change first. Under the Duke's guidance, the three arrived at a clothing store. Surprisingly, the owner was not only very enthusiastic, but also knew them. "I was planning to visit the Duke, but I'm glad you came now." The Duke's behavior also surprised Lyre. Clearly, they had a close relationship, but why was that? Lyre pretended to look at clothes while trying not to be too sensitive, all while eavesdropping on their conversation. At first, they were just chatting about recent events, but the last words shocked Lyre. The woman was actually jealous of her husband and another man. While looking at clothes, Lyre paid close attention to their conversation. They seemed like very close friends. The Duke was still explaining their purpose for coming here, hoping for a comfortable robe to cover their clothes. The owner immediately went to find suitable robes. "Madam, are these all right?" Lyre was still struggling internally. She thought the owner was just an acquaintance of the Duke, but for some reason, she cared a lot. Could she be jealous of the two of them? The owner, still unaware, saw Lyre's changing expressions and thought she didn't like his recommendations. After much hesitation, Lyre finally asked what was on her mind. "Are you and John friends?" Hearing this, the owner looked shocked. God, the madam called the Duke by his nickname. Then he became serious. "The Duke and I are indeed good friends." Lyre instantly felt uneasy. What did he mean by that? "Madam, don't you recognize me? I'm a member of the Duke's Knight Order. I used to have long hair." Lyre was stunned. "You were once a knight?" "Yes, because I found a new dream here. I had to give up my knight status. I apologize for once vowing to serve the Duke forever. So whenever the Duke's family comes to town, my store provides free clothes. Today, instead of coming alone as usual, the Duke brought you and the young master." Lyre suddenly felt very embarrassed. She had to change the subject by talking about clothes. She didn't expect things to turn out this way. Why was she anxious about this? In fact, the Duke was completely focused on Lyre, occasionally having sudden memories. She had always wanted to get closer to the Duke, as if a part of the original her was still inside him. At this moment, Cardi, wearing his new robe, ran quickly to his mom. "Let's go eat. I'm hungry." Lyre also took off her hat and asked the owner to take it to the carriage. "I'm sorry for asking you some strange questions earlier. I think I misunderstood you." The owner was also very happy, saying it was fine. He was glad to see that their relationship wasn't as bad as rumors suggested. Lyre blushed and stammered her thanks. The Duke quickly caught up and supported his wife. "You'll fall if you walk like that." Seeing this, the owner felt even more reassured. It seemed the Duke could finally get along well with the girl he had a crush on for so long. Moments later, They arrived at a nearby restaurant. Liar apologized for not giving Cardi the promised boat ride. Because of Mom's oversight, we had to disembark early. But Cardi didn't see it that way. I'm very happy today. The river was clear. The wind was fresh. I really liked it, but I also love talking with Mom like this. Next time we can attend the village festival, or we could go to the next village. Let's look forward to our next trip. Soon, the food arrived. Liar reminded Cardi to be careful and blow on the food before eating. Cardi followed his mom's advice, carefully blowing on the food. However, instead of eating it, he offered it to Liar. Mom, say ah. This cute and thoughtful gesture hit Liar hard. Cardi was just too adorable. She wished she had a camera. The food fed by her son tasted so good. The Duke watched the two of them from the side. Unexpectedly, he was called on next. Pretending to be calm, he asked Liar what she needed. Seeing the spoon offered to him, he calmly ate it, outwardly resigned, but inwardly overjoyed. After dinner, the three of them returned by carriage. Cardi, tired from playing all day, fell asleep as soon as he got in the carriage. According to Cardi's maid, he was so excited about today's trip that he couldn't sleep all night. Liar looked at the little one's sleeping face, still adorable. Thank you for arranging everything today. I hope we can find another opportunity to go out. The Duke, blushing, looked at his sleepy wife. Of course we will, Liar. There will be countless such occasions. As soon as they got home, servants came to carry Cardi. Liar refused them. I want to put Cardi to bed with the Duke. The assistant quickly suggested that the Duke should put the young master to bed, then go to the office as there was still a pile of unfinished documents. Before he could finish speaking, he was silenced by a punch from the maid. Just then, Cardi woke up. Liar told him to take a bath and then sleep together. But unexpectedly, the little one directly refused. That's my room. I want to sleep alone. To give Mom and Dad more time together, the boy decided to sleep alone tonight. Cardi's decision surprised Liar very much. She thought the little one was angry with her. Unexpectedly, he had a little secret with Dad, promising not to sleep with Mom tonight. Liar curiously asked why, but Cardi refused. This is a secret between Dad and me. Sorry, I can't tell Mom. We don't need to read fairy tales today either. Mom must be very tired too. Liar touched the little one's head appreciatively. Our Cardi has really grown up. He even knows to care for Mom. Then she curiously asked the Duke what the agreement was. The two seemed to have planned it beforehand, maintaining a mysterious attitude about this matter. So tonight was different from Liar's expectation. She thought it would still be the three of them, but it unexpectedly became just her and the Duke. Now, no matter how curious she was, he wouldn't tell. She guessed that maybe Cardi wanted Mom and Dad to become more intimate, so she stepped forward and held the Duke's hand. Unexpectedly, he trembled nervously. Was the Duke still afraid that she would suddenly regain her memory? I want to know, how did you feel about today's outing? Before the Duke could answer, she was invaded by the original owner's memory again. The original owner wailed desperately. I can't love him. I don't deserve happiness. But she couldn't suppress her desire to say she loved him. Rather than this, just hate me. Liar then realized something was wrong. The original owner seemed to love the Duke. But why did she push him away so mercilessly? Something must have happened. The Duke saw his wife's expression change and quickly asked with concern, "You must be tired from the carriage ride today. You should go to bed early to recover well." Liar knew the Duke was still being cautious, fearing that she might suddenly regain her memory one day. If they were to truly restore their relationship, she had to know the truth. Why do you still love me even though I used to be so harsh to you? Why do you love me so blindly? To be honest, I don't know. Maybe it's because of your beautiful smile, or sometimes your clumsy cuteness. But I just love you unconditionally. Will you believe that? Liar fell silent. Even if I didn't reciprocate with the same feelings? The Duke didn't expect his wife to suddenly talk about these things. Liar explained, "It feels like this whole time has been a dream. You must still be worried that I'll regain my memory. Why don't you just tell me the truth? How did our relationship become like this?" The Duke wanted to speak, but stopped himself. "Maybe I'm being selfish. I don't want to tell you everything that happened. I want to keep seeing your radiant smile." Liar didn't want to miss this opportunity. She still held on to the Duke, wanting him to tell the truth. "Why keep avoiding it? I know you won't hurt me. Even if you did, I wouldn't allow it. Please stop avoiding it." Then Liar kissed the Duke's lips. Faced with such a proactive wife, the Duke could no longer suppress his feelings. He hugged Liar and deepened the kiss. Maddie met his good friend again. After being refused information about the past by the Duke, the servants of the Duke's mansion also seemed to have received some order to keep quiet about the past. At her wit's end, Liar suddenly thought of the letter Mrs. Finzel sent last time. Judging from the last gathering, she seemed well informed informed about the rumors. She must know something about their situation too. With this thought, she immediately ran to discuss with Cardi. Finzel's son wants to invite you to play again. This time we're the only guests. You can play with your friend without anyone disturbing you. Cardi thought about Mom's words. You say Finzel's son wants to play with me? Liar replied confusedly. Yes, that's what was written in the letter Mom received. Hearing this, Cardi's lips curled up. Then why don't we invite them to our home? This made Liar even more confused. Yes, I want to show my friend our mansion. Liar was excited to hear this. Cardi actually used the word friend. That means he's deviating from the tragic plot of the original story. Mom will write to Finzel right away. Then I want to play alone with Letties. Soon, the agreed date arrived. Cardi was very excited about this meeting. Liar was also pleased, thinking her son really liked this new friend. Be sure to get along well today. Okay, I'll make sure of it. A maid came to announce that Mrs. Finzel had arrived. Then they saw the two in matching outfits walk in. Thank you for the invitation. We've been looking forward to coming here. Little Letties also greeted politely. Our Cardi has been waiting for this day. For a long time. The little one asked confusedly, You mean Cardi? Of course, Letties. I've been wanting to see you. Liar looked at the two children, puzzled. Are they really good friends like this? The next second, Cardi suggested taking Letties on a tour of the Duke's mansion. At this moment, Liar was of course very happy that Cardi had made a friend. Mrs. Finzel also reminded her son to get along well. So the two little ones went off to play by themselves. The mothers watched as their children left. Mrs. Finzel complained, My son wouldn't let me bring the recording orb today. Otherwise, I would have recorded such cute moments. Then the two began their pleasant afternoon tea time. Liar also specially brought out the best tea to serve. Mrs. Finzel was very interested in this. She thought of one of her friends. Unfortunately, he was sick last time, so they didn't meet. Liar was already prepared to pack some tea leaves for them before they left. Then she heard Mrs. Finzel say, He has pink hair and also loves his child very much. This reminded Liar of the novel's female protagonist, who also had pink hair. Her mother had been suffering from illness for a long time. The protagonist's misfortune began with her mother's death. Is your friend's child turning 7 this year? Does she also have pink hair and clear eyes like her? After hearing Mrs. Finzel's affirmative answer, Liar knew this was the upcoming female protagonist, the one who would be imprisoned by Cardi. At this moment, Mrs. Finzel asked a soul-searching question. How do you know all this? You've never met before. Liar was stunned, not knowing how to explain for a moment. To prevent her daughter-in-law from being imprisoned by her son, Liar decided to change the protagonist's tragic childhood. But during the conversation with Mrs. Finzel, she became suspicious. Liar immediately tried to dispel Mrs. Finzel's suspicion by saying she had previously learned about children of Cardi's age. Unexpectedly, she actually believed it. Then Cardi and my friend's daughter are only a year apart. Liar was well aware of this point. In the original story, the protagonist's mother died when she was 8. There was only 1 year left before the start of her tragic fate. After that, the protagonist's father became an alcoholic due to grief. Some people took advantage of this to make him incur huge debts. The family also fell into ruin because of this. The protagonist's father also made a terrible decision because of this. After her father left, the protagonist had to work at the Duke's mansion to repay the debt. That's when Cardi noticed her and imprisoned her. To prevent this from happening, Liar decided not to let the protagonist's family fall apart. Now the only way was to cure her mother's illness. The protagonist's mother's illness could be cured if treated early. In the novel, she gave up because of the expensive treatment costs. However, Liar, who knew the plot well, had another method, but she needed to meet her first. So she asked Mrs. Finzel if they could visit together. She immediately got consent. This way, she could communicate with the protagonist's mother and also see what her future daughter-in-law looked like. In the original story, she was a great beauty. She must have been cute as a child too. Talking about the protagonist all the time wouldn't do. It was time to learn about that matter. Mrs. Finzel also noticed that Liar seemed to have something to say, so she voluntarily brought up the topic. I see you look worried. Don't worry, whatever you say, I'm willing to listen. Liar pretended not to often enter social circles and wanted to know the rumors about her outside. I always refused to attend gatherings before. I wonder if it caused many misunderstandings. Mrs. Finzel immediately denied this idea. They're just jealous of you. There's nothing like that at all. This statement also puzzled Liar. Then Mrs. Finzel began to recount the touching romantic love story of Liar and the Duke in social circles. You don't know how famous your love story is. The Duke fell in love with you at first sight when you were still a child. He even proposed to help you pay off your debts. after you said you only wanted a peaceful life. Even the wedding was held on a small scale. Rumors say you've only shown your face to the Duke. Everyone is very curious about this. Mrs. Fenzel excitedly recounted this story. You don't know how thrilled I was when you said you'd come to the birthday party. Liar felt extremely embarrassed after hearing this. This romance novel-like plot, it was really difficult to reconcile with the initial reactions of the Duke and Cardi. It was completely different from the rumors. Mrs. Fenzel admitted that their love story was the only rumor, telling Liar not to worry too much about it. It seemed that Mrs. Fenzel couldn't provide any other information. Liar could only rely on the original owner's suddenly emerging memories. Afterwards, the two women's conversation turned to their sons. Liar also generously shared the diary she wrote for Cardi. Just as they were chatting about their children, there was a sudden knock on the door. Several servants who followed Cardi entered. "We've come to seek Madam's help," they hesitantly said. "The young master and the Marquis's son are—" Upon hearing this, both women immediately became tense, urging the servants not to hide anything. The servant then said, "The young masters are destroying everything on the road. We can't stop them." Liar inwardly exclaimed, "Not good," and immediately followed them to the scene. There were traces of fire burning everywhere, and the ground was covered with the two boys' messy footprints. Liar immediately called out to Cardi. The little one, covered in dirt, turned around in panic. The two little ones had caused trouble again. When Liar arrived, the place was already in a mess. Cardi also looked pitifully at his mother. Liar quickly composed herself. Her son's current expression was certainly seeking forgiveness. But for wrongdoing, punishment was necessary. "Even if you look at me like that, I won't let you off. This is the family's training ground. Doing this will harm those who protect us." "Mom, I was wrong. Originally, I just wanted to show Letty's our training ground." Just now, Cardi had brought Letty's here, telling him about how the knights train every day. But Letty's was unimpressed. "We have better knights at our home." This statement made Cardi very unhappy. "I heard you can use fire magic." "Yes, that's right. So what? Can you drive away this pouring rain?" Cardi was instantly angered by Letty's tone. Ignoring the servant's attempts to stop him, he was about to use magic. "If Madam finds out, she won't like it. So, we need to keep this a secret from Mom. You can't tell Mom either." Letty's continued to provoke from the side. "Your flames look like they go out as soon as it rains." Cardi instantly increased his firepower. Then watch carefully. Under Cardi's control, the training ground was instantly engulfed in flames. Even the surrounding trees were set on fire. The servants were terrified. Cardi looked smugly at Letty's. "How about that?" Letty's also applauded from the side. "I bet you don't have any abilities. Try to compete with me." Unexpectedly, Letty's just smiled. "Why would you think that? Watch carefully." Then he used magic to split a distant tree in half at the waist. "How about that? Isn't my ability better than your magic?" Cardi, unwilling to be outdone, said, "If I wanted to, I could burn all the trees here. I can do that too." So the two little ones decided to have a duel in the name of their families. Hearing this, the servants hurriedly stepped forward to stop them. "Calm down, you can't fight." Little Cardi was no longer listening to advice. "We're just playing. Don't come over." The servants, afraid of trouble, quickly went to report. After Cardi explained, he whispered, "I just don't want to lose to the Marquis's son and bring shame to our family." Liar also understood her son. This was all for the children's pride. So she told Cardi to go change his clothes first to avoid catching a cold. Meanwhile, Mrs. Fenzel was also scolding her son. Liar suggested that Letty should also go change his clothes. But Mrs. Fenzel hadn't brought any change of clothes for her child on this trip. "It's all right. I can lend Cardi's clothes for the child to wear first. I'd be upset if he caught a cold because of this." Mrs. Fenzel felt very apologetic, but also couldn't let her child catch a cold because of this. So she happily accepted Liar's suggestion. Thus, both little ones were handed over to the maids. Moments later, the two came downstairs hand in hand, having changed their clothes. Liar was happy. It seemed they had made up. "Yes, Duchess, I'm very sorry for today. And Cardi, I sincerely apologize to you." Liar saw how well-mannered and polite Letty's was. She then turned to her son. "Cardi, I think you'll apologize too." The little one lowered his head and obediently apologized to Mrs. Fenzel. Then he suddenly changed his tone. "Fenzel, Letty's, you're really terrible." The Duke had eavesdropped on his wife's conversation again, so he decided to advance their second child plan. Cardi was very dissatisfied with Letty's. His words also startled Liar. "It's all right, Duchess. I know he won't apologize to me, Liar was still confused. What did Letty's mean? The next second, her eyes widened in shock. How were these two children chatting again? So, when will you come play with me again? After the rainy season, I'll come again. And they agreed to have a proper competition next time. Compared to Liar's confusion, Mrs. Finzel thought that boys' relationships often improve after a few fights. Early the next morning, Carty came to his mom with a book. I want you to read this to me today. Liar looked at the cover. It was a book called Winter Witch. I know fairy tales are a bit childish for me, but I still want Mom to read it. If it's too thick, it will definitely hurt your throat. Liar was touched by how considerate the little one was. She opened the book and began to tell the story. When winter is covered in ice and snow, people can see a witch in certain places. She has powerful magic and can grant any wish. The witch could wander freely anywhere in the kingdom. To alleviate her daily boredom, the witch began using human souls to grant wishes. So many people were willing to risk everything for their loved ones. This plot caught Liar's attention, and it sounded very familiar. Before she could think further, Carty interrupted. Mom, what's next? What happened to them? Surprisingly, Carty liked such abstruse sentences. Afterwards, no matter how high the odds, the witch never lost. All of this was the witch's path to collecting human souls. The strong emotions in the souls would make the witch's magic more powerful. Mom, does this mean the stronger the emotion, the stronger the magic? Then I must be more powerful than Letty's. Because I love Mom very much. Liar didn't expect the little one to be so charming. She quickly hugged her precious son. Mom also loves Carty very, very much. I know Mom loves me. Then does Dad's mom love Dad? This question suddenly made Liar shy. Images of the Duke's handsome face flashed quickly through her mind. Her heartbeat also involuntarily sped up. If this wasn't love, how else could it be explained? Yes, although I don't dare, Mom also loves Dad. Liar knew the Duke liked the original her, not her. But even so, she still liked the Duke. The little one didn't understand what Mom meant. Why don't you dare to love Dad? Liar had to explain that she was too harsh on him before. In her previous life, she never imagined having a life like this. If you asked Dad if he also loves Mom, I think he would say yes. Unexpectedly, the Duke's voice suddenly appeared. So, you're reading fairy tales to our son? Liar was startled by the Duke's sudden appearance. Next time, can you make some noise before approaching? Thinking of what she just said, she blushed shyly, wondering if the Duke had heard her words. Now looking at the Duke's face, she couldn't tell at all. I wanted to talk to Carty about yesterday's incident. Liar sighed in relief. It seemed he hadn't heard, but Carty has already admitted his mistake. Don't scold him again. I've considered it, but I still need to educate him. Liar hugged her son, blinking her big eyes, trying to get the Duke to let Carty off. After all, the child was only 6 years old. If Dad scolds you too harshly, you must tell Mom. The little one didn't take it seriously at all, bouncing forward to grab his dad's hand. The Duke didn't expect his son to take his hand voluntarily, so he picked Carty up. But before we go, the Duke suddenly turned back to look at Liar. Before bed tonight, I'll give you the answer you want. See you tonight. Liar was completely dumbfounded. Judging by the Duke's expression, he had not only heard everything, but also seemed to want to prove something, as if ready to take some action. It seemed that humans really did have some kind of deal with the witch. After reading the witch's story to her son during the day, that night Liar dreamed of her. The witch said, "Time flies so fast. The day we promised is approaching. Do you remember?" Liar woke up instantly, frightened. She wondered if the conversation with the witch was just a dream. The Duke noticed his wife suddenly waking up and knew she must have had another nightmare. Liar was confused why the Duke said another. Did she often have nightmares before? The Duke wanted to speak, but hesitated. He placed a wet towel on Liar's forehead. You need to rest for now, but I want to know, will you tell me? Are the nightmares related to my memory loss? The Duke had to talk about some childhood memories. They first met as children. Liar held the Duchess's hand to greet them. Unexpectedly, she tripped the next second due to nervousness. The Duke couldn't help but laugh. He received a fierce glare from little Liar in return. He thought it was just a one-time encounter, but in the following days, there was always a little girl by his side. Although his personal space was invaded, he couldn't help but like this seemingly cute girl. He was attracted to her every time they met. That's all I can tell you for now. Liar pouted in dissatisfaction. It was always like this, unable to say more. A few years ago, I made a promise to you. We would be like when we were children. I didn't expect that I would break my word. I could only fulfill the promise when you were in despair. That's why I don't want you to regain your memory. Liar wanted to ask more, but was stopped again. You should rest now. Don't be afraid. I'll stay by your side. You won't have nightmares again. However, after that night, the two maintained a distance. Even the maid noticed it. She cried, asking Liar if she had quarreled with the Duke, why they suddenly started sleeping in separate rooms. Unexpectedly, her mistress became even angrier. Why don't you go ask the young master about this? About the reason for suddenly sleeping separately. Liar was very troubled. If she didn't know about the original owner's past, there would be no progress in understanding what happened. After that day, the Duke went to another room, using the excuse of having work to do until late at night. Even his assistant couldn't see the Duke. This behavior was obviously intentional avoidance. Suddenly, Cardi ran in calling for his mom. Blinking his big eyes, he asked if she had quarreled with Dad. Is it because I did something bad? Liar didn't expect the child would think it was his fault. She quickly comforted the little one, saying it was just that Mom and Dad encountered some problems. Mom wants to ask Dad about some things he doesn't want to discuss. The little one was clearly confused. You're fighting over such a small thing? We're not fighting, just sorting out our thoughts. But you're not sleeping in the same room? Liar hugged her son, amused. In the past, he was the one most opposed to her being with Dad. Unexpectedly, the little one suddenly spread his hands and shook his head like an adult. Mom, you don't hate Dad, right? You still want to get along with him, right? Liar was puzzled by her son's sudden question. That's right. Cardi jumped down and snapped his fingers. I've finished talking with Mom. You can take over now. Just as Liar was confused, two people suddenly entered. This is the young master's order. Please forgive us, madam. And so, the two people lifted Liar up, one on each side. The little one stood by watching everything. Mom, you taught me to be friendly to friends. So why are you fighting with Dad? Liar already had a premonition of what her son was up to. Cardi walked with light steps to open the door. Then I'll leave Mom to you. After receiving the order, the two began to walk out. No matter how Liar called her son, it was useless. With her son's assistance, the young couple finally resolved their misunderstanding. Cardi had the guards directly take Liar to the Duke's office. Now the two sat face to face, extremely awkward. Although Liar also wanted to clear things up with the Duke, it wasn't under such awkward circumstances. The Duke was also caught off guard. His son had said he wanted to ask about some superpowers and told him to wait in the office. He didn't expect to wait for his wife to be carried in. He obviously knew about Cardi's plot. That's right, our son suddenly called people to carry me here. The Duke then apologized embarrassedly, admitting that he had indeed been avoiding Liar before. I knew you were doing it on purpose. Why did you do that? The Duke said softly, embarrassed, that it was because he didn't want her to regain her memory. When he talked about childhood things, it was actually because he saw Liar having nightmares and couldn't bear it, so he spoke hastily. But I regretted it afterwards. I know you'll regain your memory sooner or later. I thought about avoiding you, trying to delay it as much as possible. After hearing this, Liar was already moved, but still reproached the Duke for not telling the truth. But the Duke was still afraid that these days were all an illusion, afraid that the imagined future would happen. Liar suddenly gripped the Duke's hand tightly. She told him not to be afraid, that all of this wasn't an illusion. Even if she regains her memory in the future, it won't change her current feelings. She would do her best to tell him that. So she kissed the Duke's lips without hesitation. The fact that I love you will never change. This made the Duke feel even more guilty, thinking he was selfish. Liar also admitted that she didn't blame him and wouldn't ask about the past anymore. She hoped the Duke would return to their room to sleep. Everyone was very worried about the unusual relationship between the two. This way, the couple resolved their misunderstanding. A month later, it was time to visit the daughter-in-law. After confirming with the maid what to bring, she instructed her to take care of Cardi, who might not return until the next day. Mrs. Fenzel was also waiting at the door early. She was looking forward to the three of them discussing children together. More importantly, she was worried about Liar meeting Mrs. Fennel privately. To avoid awkwardness, she arranged this joint meeting and thoughtfully let Liar call her by her first name. Vinashiril was extremely happy. This indicated that the relationship with the male lead's mother had progressed further. Cardi would surely have a bright future. Soon, the two arrived at Mrs. Feneltira's home. She was also waiting in the reception room to greet them early. I'm honored that the Duchess could come to see me. She also brought out the tea that Lyre had sent. Vinishi told me that this tea has a pain-relieving effect. I've been taking bitter medicine all along. It's great to have tea as a substitute. But, Duchess, do you have any particular reason for visiting me? Lyre panicked for a moment when addressed directly. She quickly thought about how to express her purpose. So, she decided to use the same explanation she gave to Mrs. Fenzel before. I heard your daughter is about the same age as my son and also loves her child very much. I think we could definitely become close friends too. Mrs. Fennel gladly accepted this explanation. At this moment, a little girl ran in. Lyre immediately recognized her as the female protagonist from the novel. She was even cuter than described in the book. The little one curiously looked at the guests in her home. The next second, her eyes met with Lyre's. She immediately exclaimed, "What a beautiful lady!" Then, realizing her rudeness, she carefully apologized. Lyre was instantly charmed by the little cutie. She couldn't understand how her son could imprison such an adorable girl. She immediately introduced herself to her daughter-in-law. The little one also obediently greeted her. Mrs. Fennel wanted her daughter to go rest first, but Nia hadn't heard her mother's bedtime story yet. Unexpectedly, the next moment, Mrs. Fennel began to cough violently. Then she fell straight backward. The sudden incident left both of them in a panic. Mrs. Fenzel immediately called for a doctor to come. It seemed Mrs. Fennel's condition was worse than they had imagined. Fortunately, the doctor arrived quickly at the scene. Nia was also very worried about her mother's health. This was the first time she had coughed up blood like this. Lyre patiently comforted her not to worry, saying that her mother would get better with good rest. But inside, she was anxious to find a treatment method quickly. However, in the current situation, it was difficult to talk privately. She could only try to understand the situation from Nia for now. The little one also wanted to stay with Lyre for a while longer. Conveniently, Mrs. Fenzel also needed to check on her friend's condition. Nia said she could stay with the Duchess, and she asked the maids to go take care of her mother. So only the two of them were left in the reception room. Lyre wiped the little one's tears. She confidently asked the child, "Do you believe in fairies in this world?" Nia's eyes instantly brightened. "You mean the legendary fairies that bring good luck?" Lyre then told Nia a very popular fairy tale. In the cold winter, a child got lost in the forest. He was very hungry, not having eaten all day. Luckily, he found some bread under a tree. However, at that moment, an old woman appeared and asked if the child could share the bread. The child looked at it and shared half of the bread. The old woman also gave a blessing. "You are a kind child. A fairy will give you a special gift." After saying this, she disappeared. In her place appeared a young fairy. The child received the fairy's blessing and soon reunited with his family. If the child listened to this story, it would be much easier to explain. As expected, children always believe in fairy tales. In that case, do you believe that I am a fairy who brings good luck? Nia obviously hadn't thought she was so lucky. You have fairy-like hair color, and you're as beautiful as them. That's why I believe you. Who knew little girls could be so charming with their words nowadays? Then she made a pact with Nia that everything said today was a secret. Now I will give you a lucky blessing. If you do as I say, your mother will get better. Little Nia's eyes were full of admiration, looking expectantly at Lyre. She handed something to Nia. The little one looked at the thing in her hand, very confused about what it was. To protect the future daughter-in-law's freedom, Lyre decided to help in advance. Nia looked puzzled at the flowers in her hand. They seemed to have already withered. Lyre explained that they weren't withered, just not growing well. "This is one of the gifts I brought today. You must mix it with water when your mother takes a bath." The little one blinked her big eyes, asking if this would bring good luck. "That's right, but you must do as I say. Don't forget, it must be done under moonlight. Can you do this for me?" Nia nodded quickly, saying she could definitely do it well. "Thank you so much." Fairy Lyre thought the little one in her arms was adorably cute. She increasingly hoped Nia would become her future daughter-in-law. Now that Cardi had been well educated, she could find an opportunity for them to meet in advance. This way, their relationship would have a good start. "You should find a chance to come visit my home." That evening, Mrs. Fennel sat dejectedly on her bed. She enjoyed the time spent having afternoon tea with other ladies, but unfortunately her health had been deteriorating lately. She didn't know how much longer she could live. She hoped to see Nia grow up. As she was thinking, she heard someone knock on the door. Then she saw her daughter run in. She asked why she wasn't in bed yet. "I'm here to fulfill my promise to the fairy." Mrs. Fennel was instantly confused. Before she could react, her daughter pulled her along. "Where are we going?" "Mom will know soon." Nia had already prepared the bathwater and brought her mother to the bathroom. "Can we use this for bathing today? We're bathing here because we can't see the moon from Mom's bathroom." The fairy said the moonlight must touch the water surface. Mrs. Fennel was confused by her daughter's constant mention of a fairy, but seeing her daughter's enthusiastic preparation, for some reason, she wanted to go along with her prank. So she got into the bathtub and hugged Nia. Miraculously, the previously withered flowers began to bloom one by one. Mrs. Fennel also noticed this. When Nia first came in, the flowers hadn't reacted. Nia picked up a blooming flower, excitedly shouting that everything the fairy said was true. Mrs. Fennel was curious about who this fairy her daughter spoke of was. "Just like in the fairy tales Mom tells me, the fairy said if we do as she says, you'll get better. She'll bring us good luck." Although Mrs. Fennel didn't know who had told Nia these things, her body actually felt much better. Her head wasn't dizzy anymore. No medicine had ever had this effect before. She hadn't received treatment from a new doctor recently, nor had she taken any different medicine. Why did she suddenly feel better? Looking at her excited daughter, she actually started to believe. "Nia, are you sure it was given by a fairy?" "Yes, she said if we continue every day for 100 days, good luck will stay with us forever." Mrs. Fennel realized that good luck staying forever might mean her illness would be cured. At this moment, Nia excitedly shouted that the flowers looked like fairies dancing. Mrs. Fennel agreed, saying they looked like fairy hair. Suddenly, she realized who resembled a fairy. Wasn't it the Duchess? Could she know how to treat this illness? However, it was common for the Duchess to help lower-ranking nobles like this, although she didn't know why. But as long as the child could be happy. Suddenly remembering what Lyre said in the afternoon, "It's rare to see nobles who care so much about children. Perhaps she can understand how much I cherish and care. My daughter Nia may seem mischievous, but her heart is pure and kind. I hope to have enough time to stay by her side until she grows up. I've been silently enduring and waiting for my fate, but deep down I don't want to die at all. I love my daughter so much. How could I bear to leave her behind?" Nia saw her mother crying. She quickly comforted Mrs. Fennel. Hugging her adorable daughter, she said, "From now on, I will always be by your side." However, that very night, when Lyre returned home, she found Cardi and the Duke still in the office. She secretly listened to their conversation from outside the door. Cardi said seriously, "A dress the same color as Mom's eyes would be best." But the Duke disagreed. "Lyre looks like a legendary mermaid, so I think blue suits her best." Lyre instantly felt shy. What were these two talking about? She wanted to eavesdrop more, but felt too embarrassed. She decided to pretend she hadn't heard anything and quickly returned to her room. Just as Lyre was about to sneak away, she was caught by a pair of small hands. "Mom, when did you come back?" Faced with her son's expectation of a sibling, the Duke surprisingly agreed to fulfill his promise. After being caught eavesdropping, Lyre awkwardly asked the father and son what they were discussing. Unexpectedly, their answers were surprisingly consistent. "We were talking about you." This made Lyre even more embarrassed. How could they say it so directly? Feeling shy, she quickly changed the subject. "Kian, have you finished your work?" And "Cardi, have you finished your homework?" To her surprise, they both answered in unison, "It's done." Just then, a servant came to remind Cardi that it was time for his lesson. "But I want to stay with Mom a little longer." After Lyre's persuasion, the little one reluctantly went to his lesson. Now only the couple remained in the meeting room. After Cardi left, the Duke seemed lost in his own world. Lyre couldn't help but wonder if something had happened. She quickly approached and asked if he had any worries. The Duke shook his head, saying there was nothing. Lyre knew he was lying. "Then if I tell you, will you comfort me?" "Of course. What kind of special comfort do you want?" Actually, Lyre knew that what troubled the Duke most now was probably the fear of her regaining her memories. "Now you can tell me, who disturbed your mood? If you knew, would you scold that person?" "Of course not. No one can ruin my husband's mood. I'm serious." The Duke grabbed his wife's hand, blushing as he praised, "Lyre, you're so cute. If you keep tempting me like this, the situation might become dangerous. If I become too dependent on you, you won't be able to escape then." I like you, so I want to get as close to you as possible. After saying that, she prepared to slip away. I just got back from Mrs. Fennel's. I'm a bit tired. I hope you don't push yourself too hard. I'm going to rest first. She left the Duke standing alone in place. The next day, the Duke recalled his conversation with Cardi yesterday. The little one had heard that if mom and dad sleep together, they'll have a baby. But so much time had passed and still no sign. So he came to ask when dad would fulfill his promise. I will continue to maintain our current situation, but please fulfill our promise. I want to see mom happy all the time. Until then, I will also maintain our family's current state. His son's words made the Duke realize our family is the most important thing. So he solemnly promised his son that he would definitely do it. Then when is our next family trip? I've even decided on the color of mom's dress. The two were discussing heatedly. Cardi then saw his mom hiding outside the door. The Duke didn't expect his wife to appear at that time. Fortunately, she only heard the latter half of the conversation and didn't hear his promise to Cardi. Lost in thought, the butler approached with a smile. Our Duke must have thought of something, as he smiled a bit. I've been working so perfectly lately, but haven't seen you smile. Every time your wife and son come here, you're so cruel to me. Don't say such useless things. We need to finish today's work quickly, so Liar won't suspect anything. But regarding the letter from Earl Owen, are we really going to dispose of it without telling the Duchess? The Duke's expression suddenly became extremely serious. I've already told you. Burn it immediately before Liar finds out. But wasn't the Duchess a member of the Earl's family before she married here? The Duke dismissed it. So what? To the butler, Liar used to be cold towards everyone in the Duke's household, but warmly welcomed the Earl when he came. You want to establish a good image in front of the Duchess. Why are you privately handling the Earl's letter? The Duke's view differed from the butler's. He understood his wife. They're not as close as you think. The Earl only treats Liar as a tool for the family. Every visit is just an attempt to borrow money. Before Liar lost her memory, the last person she saw was him. At that time, I couldn't do anything. Now it's different. No matter the cost, I will protect Liar. Now go get the documents I prepared. I have a special task for that person. Liar was finally about to approach the truth about her memory loss. Early the next morning, she was told her husband was going to see the Emperor. Unexpectedly, the Duke had left before she woke up. She was still feeling disappointed, thinking she didn't get to say goodbye. But suddenly she noticed someone next to her. I haven't left yet. I won't leave without seeing you. Liar was startled by the Duke's sudden appearance and his words. She scolded her husband for always appearing suddenly, and that he should have woken her earlier. She almost missed seeing him off. You were sleeping so peacefully. How could I bear to disturb you? So, if I didn't wake up, would you have ignored the Emperor's invitation? I'd like to invite you, but you'll have to wait a few days. I'll be back soon. Liar also knew her husband had work to do. The first time she welcomed the Duke back from the expedition, she thought she was dreaming. I'll still be waiting for you to return this time. Take care of yourself. After the Duke left, Liar lay alone on the big bed. The maid, seeing this, asked if the madam was feeling lonely. Yes, even though he just left, I already feel lonely. At this moment, she suddenly remembered Mrs. Fennel's matter. The maid had come for this very reason, bringing a letter from Mrs. Fennel. Liar felt relieved after reading it. Mrs. Fennel had improved a lot, and at the end, she specifically emphasized her gratitude. Liar blushed immediately. She didn't expect Nia to tell her mom everything. The next meeting would be so awkward, but the future had changed because of this. Nia's background wouldn't be so tragic now. She still needed to think of an excuse for the treatment method. She couldn't say she saw it in a novel. While thinking, she unknowingly fell asleep. When she woke up again, she was in darkness, and there was crying all around. Liar walked forward confused and saw a girl crying. When she turned her head, she was completely stunned. It was Liar as a child. What made you cry so sadly? For some reason, seeing little Liar cry so sadly, she also felt inexplicably very sad. I think it's better if you don't know. But do you really want me to tell you? If you do this, you will remember him forever. You won't be able to live happily like now. Liar didn't want to live so unclear. Only by knowing the truth can I truly improve my relationship with the Duke. Help me recover my memory. Little Liar became even sadder after hearing this, questioning why Liar had to know. Why can't you accept a chance to be happy? You will hurt the people important to you again. I won't. No matter what happened in the past, I now know how important the people around me are. Little Liar finally gave up, persuading her that hiding it forever wasn't the solution. I know you like them very much now, so I'll teach you how to enter your memories. A despicable person appeared in my life, making me never want to face it again. That's our father, Earl Owen. Liar woke up confused, thinking about the last words of the original owner in her dream. Father was the key to unlocking her memories. Still pondering, she was interrupted by Cardi. Mom, are you busy now? I learned a new sword technique and want to show everyone. After getting permission, he happily ran outside to wait for Mom to change clothes. But then the maid kept trying to prevent Liar from going out. Did something happen today? Or are you hiding something? In the end, she couldn't get anything out of the maid's mouth. As soon as she went out, she heard a commotion outside. Cardi also pulled his mom to quickly take another route. Liar was worried something had happened. With the Duke not at home, she had to understand the situation. So she wanted to go check it out first, then go see her son's performance. But Cardi made excuses again, trying to get Liar to go back to her room. The servants at the door became very nervous when they saw Liar appear. They all rushed forward to prevent her from going further. Liar also realized the problem. Their unified prevention must have been arranged by the Duke. She suspected there was someone outside she wasn't supposed to see. The next second, a man appeared in front. Long time no see, Liar. When danger approached, Cardi's first thought was to protect his mom. Due to the Duke's orders, the guards were all preventing the Earl from entering the mansion. As soon as the Earl saw Liar, he questioned why he wasn't allowed in. Liar knew he had deliberately chosen to come when the Duke wasn't around. But this was also the best opportunity to understand the original owner. The Earl would certainly talk about the original owner's past without any reservations. So she told the guards to let him in. The Duke isn't here. As the lady of the house, I have the right to make decisions. I don't want to repeat myself about letting him in. Only then did the guards let him in. The Earl shamelessly asked Liar, "Why are you receiving your father like this? I can't believe you let them treat me this way. We're family, aren't we?" Liar didn't want to say much. She directly asked the maid to take him to the meeting room. Because the moment she saw the Earl, she felt extremely disgusted. It made one wonder what kind of person the father was to evoke such a reaction. Little Cardi also noticed his mom's expression. Worriedly, he begged his mom not to make such an expression, saying it scared him. "You used to always have this expression on your face before. I'm sorry, Cardi. Mom is just a bit strange. Mom promises not to have that scary expression again. Every time I see Cardi, I want to smile. Having such a cute and gentle child makes me happy. Don't worry, Mom won't have the expressions from before anymore." Liar knew Cardi's inner anxiety, afraid his mom would become like before again. Now Mom has to go receive the guest. You go wait in your room, okay? Unexpectedly, the little one firmly insisted on going with Mom. "I promised Dad I would protect Mom's smile. Father isn't here. I will protect you. If that person hurts Mom, I'll burn him to ashes." Liar was touched by her son's protection. Mom thinks she can handle him. You also have to promise to control yourself. Little Cardi obediently agreed with his mom. After entering the meeting room, Liar lifted her son onto the sofa. Unexpectedly, her father's mockery came again. "You two look very close now. Before, you always looked at him coldly. Maybe because he's related to me by blood, you want to raise your lowly child?" Liar didn't expect the Earl to speak like this in front of the child. She immediately angrily stopped him. Cardi beside her also silently controlled the flames. "I think you haven't disciplined him well. Does he want to burn his grandfather to death?" Cardi also confronted the Earl without courtesy. "If you dare hurt Mom, I'll do the same to you. I won't forgive you, grandfather." Liar quickly asked Cardi to withdraw the flames. The Earl added fuel to the fire. "Don't you want to know why I said you and your mom are equally lowly? Why don't you let him leave? I think we have things to discuss." Cardi immediately stated he wouldn't leave. "I can't let Mom be alone with someone like you." Liar knew the Earl was a despicable person. If Cardi stayed, who knows what else he would say. Seeing Cardi hurt was the last thing she wanted. "Cardi, can you trust Mom? Rather than being a mother protected by her son, I'd rather be a mother who can overcome difficulties. Can you leave the room for a while so Mom can talk to grandfather alone?" Cardi was very reluctant inside, but hearing his mom say this, he could only remind his mom to call him if anything happened while walking out. As soon as Cardi left, the Earl's laughter came from behind. "I see you've tamed them well. Now the Duke and his son are both in the palm of your hand. Since the troublesome one is gone, let's get straight to the point. I need some business funds. These words gave Liar a headache. It seemed like the same thing had happened countless times. Then the original owner's memories flashed in. This time the Duke has returned from expedition with considerable wealth. As long as you give yourself to him, I can exchange it for funds to pay off debts. Even though the original owner strongly resisted, the Earl wouldn't listen at all, even resorting to force. As far as I know, your business investments have never been profitable. You're well aware of this, right? That should be enough to prove what you've done to me. The Earl hadn't expected Liar to refuse his request, making him even more angry. You're nothing but a child of a lowly commoner. Shouldn't you be grateful that I let you live a noble life? The original owner's background was something Liar never expected. Memories flooded in. Mom had the same hair color as her. What was once a happy life was suddenly shattered. The Earl sent soldiers to snatch away the original owner. No matter how much Mom cried and shouted, it couldn't change the fact that she was going to be taken away. Liar's background was finally revealed. She wasn't the Earl's real daughter, but little Liar who was snatched away because of her eye color. She was brought to the Earl's mansion like this, not even allowed to keep her original name. Just because she looked pretty, she was forced to be an illegitimate daughter. That's how she became the Liar everyone knew. Mom also applied to work as a nanny at the Earl's mansion. In rare moments of leisure, she could play with Mom, but their interactions still needed to be careful. Mom was afraid of being discovered by the Earl's wife. Little Liar thought the Earl's wife didn't like her, so she wouldn't pay much attention to her. How could the Earl's wife not like you? You're so pretty and adorable. Little Liar knew that in the Earl's mansion, only Mom would think this way. However, that wasn't the case. The next day, she was called to the Earl's wife. Liar had a bad feeling. She quickly thought about whether there were any mistakes in her recent lessons. The Earl's wife had never summoned her before. Don't be so scared. I just felt I've been too cold to you before. Now I want to take care of you more. Is there anything troubling you lately? Liar didn't know why the Earl's wife asked this. I see you've been enjoying playing with the nanny lately. Why do you like being with the nanny instead of your mother? Liar was terrified after hearing this. Being with her birth mother was her only time of relief, but she didn't dare say this out loud. The Countess continued, "If you don't like going out with me, then get out of my sight." Little Liar was still thinking that the Countess shouldn't be too angry, but her behavior was indeed a bit strange. That night, Mom came to Liar's room. Looking at her daughter's sleeping face, she cried, "I'm sorry. Mom said she would protect you for life." Then she placed a pendant in Liar's hand. "I think I can't keep that promise anymore." The next day, Liar woke up to see the pendant her mom left. Suddenly realizing something, she started calling for the nanny. As expected, the nanny had been replaced. She had to ask tearfully where the nanny went. "I think you should have breakfast first. The lady won't like you in this state." Little Liar knew the Countess must have done something. She immediately wiped her tears and wanted to see her. Now she must ask for the lady's forgiveness. As soon as she arrived at the meeting hall, she immediately knelt before the Countess. "It's all my fault. Please give it back to me. What did I take from you? Do you miss your mother that much? I heard the Duke's family in the north needs servants, so I sent her there. Don't be so sad. I plan to go to where she works in the summer. Would you like to come with me?" The Earl added from the side, "Take this opportunity to visit the Duke's mansion. His son is still a little boy. I hope you can catch his attention. Use your face to seduce him. This is also repayment for us raising you." The memory ended. The Earl was still talking to himself. "If you don't want your husband to know about your lowly background." Liar retorted that the Duke wouldn't care about these things. "What if you knew he was the son of the person who killed your mother?" The boy learned that Mom was in a bad mood. He immediately came to comfort her. He even brought his favorite toy bear to cheer Mom up. Meanwhile, the father was still threatening Liar about moving her mother's grave. "You'd better obey my orders. If your mother's grave is disturbed because of this, I think she would be very sad." Liar didn't expect the Earl to be so vicious. She thought that perhaps he had threatened the original owner like this before. That's why she ended up in a bad situation. But now she was different. She wouldn't be threatened by the Earl's words anymore. She rudely asked him to leave the Duke's mansion. The guards hurried in upon hearing this. They immediately restrained the Earl, who was still cursing. Little Carty also rushed in anxiously to check on his mom's condition. At bedtime, he specially brought a doll. "Mom, are you okay? I brought my favorite teddy bear to cheer you up." Liar was touched. The little one came to comfort her at this time. "Can I sleep with you before Dad comes back?" Liar agreed to her son's request. It had been a long time since they did this together. Looking at her son's obedient appearance, thinking of her previous indifference towards him, how heartbroken the child must have been. "Carty, Do you hate Mom? Hearing this, the little one lowered his head and was silent for a moment. I did many things before, but you never gave me a hug. Then it seems I was truly a bad mother. But even though Mom was cold, I still liked you. Back then, I just wished you could give me a smile. Suddenly, Mom started smiling at me. At first, I was still angry about this attitude. You suddenly became so nice to me. But later I wasn't, because I really, really love Mom. Even now, I still love you. Lyre hugged her adorable son. Actually, while talking to the Earl just now, she had remembered everything. She even saw that winter witch. At that time, she was holding her mother's only memento. She begged the witch to let her go back and see. Mom didn't expect the witch to refuse the request, but she could give Lyre 10 years. At that time, she thought without Mom, even if she had time to live, it would be worthless. The witch laughed. She thought Lyre was lying and wanted to make a bet with her. If you're so confident, then you surely won't lose. I'll give you a new life, without any cost. There, you won't live in sadness and pain. A life where you can be loved peacefully. What do you think? Thoughts returning, Lyre looked at her son in her arms, remembering how painful every day used to be, to the point of being unbearable. That's why she thought about whether she could change everything and return to her mother's side. But I can't do that. That way your future won't become so miserable. Before, she thought the torn wings in the novel referred to the heroine imprisoned in the Duke's mansion. But that wasn't the case. The one whose wings were really torn off was Cardi, and the culprit behind this was himself. At the same time, Lyre also realized that she hadn't transmigrated into the original owner's body. Lyre had always been herself. She was just changed by the Eastern Gene Witch's magic. Now that she remembered everything, it was time to end the bet with the witch. Lyre knew she wouldn't live like before anymore. There were two adorable boys always waiting for her. Loving her from now on, I will let them know how much I love them. Even the straight-laced husband had a romantic side. After dealing with matters on the battlefield, the Duke's first thought was to rush home. He was afraid Lyre might be hurt by the Earl. The clever knights advised the Duke not to hurry back. If you come from so far without bringing a gift, the lady will surely be disappointed. Only then did the Duke remember this matter. He hurriedly went to a nearby market. Moments later, he returned under everyone's gaze. After buying a bulging bag of jewels, he still felt there was nothing suitable for Lyre. The knights were all very worried that their straight-laced boss was preparing to return empty-handed. At this moment, the Duke noticed a flower stall by the roadside. He bought all the purple hydrangeas at the stall. Then he led everyone to rush back without stopping, but he was still very worried. Lyre had regained her memory and returned to her former self. She would no longer welcome him like last time. However, reality was different. His wife and son were waiting early at the door. Lyre saw her husband return and immediately came forward to express her longing. The little one also hurried to welcome him. "Dad, did you protect Mom well while I was away?" Cardi didn't know how to explain for a moment. Lyre quickly chimed in. Of course, he was like a shining knight. He always protected Mom very well, didn't he? And John, what's that in your hand? The Duke shyly said it was a gift for Lyre. He thought of them as soon as he saw it. After returning, the maid put all the flowers in a vase. Lyre looked at the flowers and suddenly became worried. She asked the maid, "If you're trapped in a distorted relationship, but it's neither your fault nor your partner's fault, what should be done? What would you do if it were you?" "I think it depends on the situation. If it's a problem that can be solved, I would do my best. If it can't be solved, I would cut it off." Lyre also thought the maid's words made sense, but she still wanted to resolve things. At this point, the maid also guessed something and asked if Lyre had regained her memory. Lyre didn't intend to hide it and said directly that she remembered everything after the Earl came. As a result, she felt the maid's unprecedented anger. That vicious Earl, he came from so far just to torment the lady. That's why the memories came back. I must quickly find the holy water. We must eliminate the evil energy left by the vicious Earl. Lyre was shocked by the maid's state. "Why? Aren't you more angry that I regained my memory?" The maid became even more angry at this question. "Of course not. I can't imagine how many excessive things he said to help you regain your memory. This must have been a huge blow to you, my lady. I was indeed worried that you would return to your former self after regaining your memory. But your eyes used to be empty and cold. Now they're full of warmth and love. As you said before, even if you regain your memory, you won't change. All right, now I'm going to do a deep cleaning of the mansion." Lyre helplessly watched the maid run off. Looking at the flowers in front of her, she thought of the Duke again. Perhaps it had been a long time, but she felt the Duke had become more handsome. After putting Cardi to bed in the evening, she prepared to return to the room to wait for the Duke. But unexpectedly, he was already sitting on the big bed. "I've just returned from the battlefield. Even if I'm strong, I can't work all the time." He also pulled his wife close and gave her a kiss. "I thought of you every day. My greatest desire was to see Lyre again." She quickly made the Duke stop saying embarrassing sweet nothings. "But in this wonderful atmosphere, I want to tell you something very important. That is, I remember everything." The young couple finally opened their hearts. Lyre also confessed to her husband about regaining her memory. The Duke had vaguely guessed after hearing the servant's report during the day. He asked his wife what she and the Earl had talked about. He came to ask for money. The Duke didn't expect the Earl to come asking for money again. "From now on, I won't let him bully you anymore. I can't bear to see you suffer because of him, if I still have the chance to do so." Lyre felt her husband's hands trembling as he spoke. "I'm sorry. I don't want to see you hate me like before." Lyre understandingly held the Duke's hand. "Do you see hatred in my eyes when I look at you now? Or haven't you noticed how my eyes sparkle when I look at you? Let me tell you, even though I remember everything, I will still show you my gentle side. How do you think I'm doing? Can you trust me now?" The Duke felt relieved after his wife's statement and asked for forgiveness. "You know, I'm the son of the murderer who hurt your mother, yet I forced you to be with me. Can you forgive me?" The Duke's words made Lyre recall her childhood memories. The Countess promised little Lyre to visit the Duke's mansion, where she might see her mother who was a maid there. "But if you embarrass me, you won't have another chance. Stay in your room until tomorrow, and don't eat either." Little Lyre didn't expect to go hungry again today, but being able to go to the Duke's mansion was already the greatest comfort. The next day, the Countess took little Lyre to the Duke's mansion. This was also Lyre's first time meeting the young Duchess. The two wanted to talk, so they sent the children away. Lyre was overjoyed, as this meant she could go find her mother. But this was the Duke's mansion after all, and she didn't know where her mother was. She had to shamelessly ask the Duke beside her if he had heard of a maid named Sinai. "I'm very curious about where she works." The Duke knew this person, but didn't intend to tell Lyre directly. "I can't easily tell anyone any private information about the Duke's mansion." But this didn't stump Lyre at all. "Then you don't have to tell me, just take me on a tour." The Duke didn't expect this approach. He could only reluctantly become Lyre's guide. A few days later, the girl came again. "Last time we went to the lake in the backyard. It was too big, so today let's go see the other side." This continued for several times, with the Duke patiently taking Lyre on tours each time. Instead, Lyre grew impatient and wanted the Duke to directly tell her where. The Duke didn't understand why Lyre was so persistent in wanting to see a woman. Lyre didn't know how to explain. She couldn't just say it was her mother. "She used to be my nanny in the mansion, so our relationship is very close." After hearing this, the Duke finally relented. "It's the maid's break time now. She should be nearby." Who knew Lyre would be so excited that she took a big tumble? This earned her merciless teasing from the Duke, but he still helped clean the mud off her dress. "It's okay, just be more careful next time." And so, Lyre followed the Duke to the maid's resting area. She finally saw her busy mother in the room. Sinai was very shocked to see her daughter and hurriedly tried to hide the wounds on her body. The girl finally calmed her husband's unease. Their childhood events had always been a knot in the Duke's heart. After little Lyre's persistent requests, the Duke finally agreed to take her to see her mother. But what Lyre didn't know was that her mother's body was already covered in scars. To avoid worrying her daughter, Sinai lied about having to work and sent Lyre away. But after that, little Lyre frequently went to the Duke's house to see her mother. She finally discovered her mother's injuries. In a panic, the only thing she could think of was to beg the Duchess. But she was met with a cold response. "That maid is already part of the Duke's household, which means she belongs to me. Why should I care about a lowly maid?" However, what made Lyre even more desperate was that the scars on her mother's body were all the Duchess's doing. It was then that Lyre realized the Countess's deception. Her only purpose was to let Lyre watch her own mother slowly die. The Duke had known everything all along. Thinking about it, tears fell involuntarily. The Duke hurriedly wiped his wife's tears and apologized. Lyre gestured for the Duke to sit beside her. "I suddenly remembered many things from my childhood. Do you know what my first impression of you was? Probably a serious and cold air to the Duke's family. Actually, when I first met you, I thought you were very unfriendly. You kept not telling me where my mother was. But being with you was very enjoyable. every day, using excuses to tour the Duke's mansion with you. Not only that, reading books with you is also fun. I've liked you since I was little. The Duke also eagerly expressed his feelings. Back then, every time you smiled at me, my heart would race. But I always refused to tell you where the maid was. I even knew she was suffering from my mother's anger and torture. I deeply regret my judgment as a child. Perhaps if I had told you earlier, we could have saved her. In the end, it caused you to become a child who lost her mother. Lyra also tried to comfort her husband. She knew that the Duke, who was still a child then, had no power to protect the maid. He even received a beating from the Duchess for it. Now, all the culprits are far away from us. I shouldn't blame you for the mistakes either. I'm sorry I was too harsh on you before. You don't need to apologize to me anymore. I've always loved you. Then Lyra pulled her husband close and gave him a comforting kiss. To be a good brother, Cardi could only silently chat with his dolls. I told you I wanted to see Mom. Why won't you let me go? Mom used to come see me even when she was sick. Something must have happened. The little one hugged his doll with a worried face. Could it be that Mom was unhappy because Dad came back? He immediately dismissed this reason. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. Cardi thought it was Mom and excitedly ran out. Unexpectedly, it was Mom's maid who came. His happy face instantly fell. Why is it you? Daisy, I didn't ask for you. The maid explained that she came to check on Cardi. I can take care of myself if I'm not sleeping. You can go now. The maid realized the little one was angry because he didn't see his mom. She didn't expect Cardi to lie so seriously. Young master, can I tell you a secret? And I'm only telling you this. The madam is preparing a wonderful gift for you. Little Cardi was instantly intrigued, wondering what Mom might be preparing. The maid deliberately kept it mysterious, but the madam told me not to tell anyone. However, I'm telling you specially. The madam wants to give you a little brother. The little one couldn't believe it and kept asking if it was true. He remembered promising Dad earlier that for the sake of a sibling, he could sleep without Mom. Can I go see Mom now? The maid quickly made up a story. The baby's birth needs a special bird to deliver it. When a couple gets along well, that bird will come to visit them. But the bird doesn't easily give children. To ensure the bird comes often, that special bird is very sensitive. It only flies in at night at a good time, until morning. If the bird runs away, they won't have a child. Under the maid's story, Cardi innocently believed it. I promised Dad I wanted a brother, and now I know Mom's not avoiding me because she doesn't like me, so I can endure for a while. After all, I'm going to be a big brother eventually. The maid then took the expectant Cardi to bed. The next day, Lyra felt sore all over. She didn't notice the Duke approaching stealthily from behind. She was startled again. I came because I was worried you weren't feeling well. But aren't you busy today? Nothing is more important to me than you. But I want to know what the Earl said to you that day. He said if I didn't give him funds, he'd tell you I'm of common birth. But you already know about my past. I told you when we were young. Sienna wasn't my nanny, but my mother. The Duke hadn't expected the Earl to use this to threaten and entice me. I had no choice. He even threatened to demolish my mother's grave. From the beginning, when I planned to refuse, he kept threatening me with this. For a long time, I've wanted to get away from him. Before we got married, I was often abused by the Earl. Most of the time, he would starve me. Sometimes he would even hit me. The Duke, upon hearing this, hugged his wife compassionately. Because of this, I started blaming everything on you. So many things happened to my family, yet you came late. I hated you. I'm sorry that incident hurt you. Now I hope you and Cardi can forgive me. The Duke quickly comforted his wife. Now, everything is fine. All the people who love you are by your side. But there's one more thing I want to tell you. I know where your mother is buried. It turned out the Duke and Lyra were mutual salvation for each other. The Duke had always regretted not taking good care of Sienna when he was young, so he later gave her a proper burial. Lyra hadn't expected her mother, who was a maid, to be treated well. She also learned that the Earl had been deceiving her all along. Next time we have a chance, let's go see her together. The Duke had always worried that his wife wouldn't believe this, so he could only silently guard this secret. Lyra was touched by her husband's silent dedication. He was just a child back then too. When the Duke was young, he was often beaten and scolded by his mother. He felt that Lyra's appearance was like a ray of light. From then on, he would never feel lonely again. It was his wife who saved that miserable, lonely childhood. Meanwhile, the Earl's situation wasn't looking good. His nephew directly broke into his house. The Earl angrily tried to drive him out, but to no avail. I told you I'm not greedy for your earl position, because I received money from the duke to take good care of you. Then he called the guards to tie up the earl. This is the price for your long-term greed and taking advantage of others. Don't worry, I'll throw your body deep into the forest and disguise it as a carriage accident. The earl never imagined that this would be his final fate. A few days later, Liar's health had recovered. The maid excitedly took out a letter upon hearing this. It's from Mrs. Fennell. Would you like to read it yourself? Liar eagerly opened the letter. She had been looking forward to having tea together once she felt better. Unexpectedly, after reading the letter, Liar looked serious. I think we have important things to prepare for. The mansion will soon welcome a very adorable child. The maid immediately guessed. It's Mrs. Fennell's daughter. Liar kept telling the maid how adorable this child was. We must make thorough preparations to welcome them. The maid also excitedly stated that she would prepare the best pastries and tea to entertain them. But there's one thing. Why do Mrs. Fennell and the child call you fairy in the letter? Liar was very embarrassed. But when I was little, I always hoped for a fairy to come and save me. However, this wish was never fulfilled. I'm glad I can help little Nia fulfill her wish. Although fairies don't really exist, there are people who, like fairies, don't want others to suffer. Liar silently looked at the sky outside the window. Mom, I miss you, but it will be a long time before we meet. I need to take care of my children and husband first. They're the ones I love most. So, Mom, please wait for me a little longer. Little Cardi was finally going to meet his future wife. As a mother, Liar was already excited. She dressed her son up early in the morning and reminded him that there would be two very important guests coming. In her mind, Liar had already imagined how the two little ones would meet. She wondered if Cardi would fall in love with Nia at first sight. Although their meeting in the original story wasn't pleasant, many things had already changed this time. There will be a little girl about your age coming. Can you take good care of her? The little one looked scared when he heard it was a girl. He mumbled softly that girls were troublesome. Liar made another promise with her son to be nice to Nia. Cardi obediently linked his hand with his mom's. After all, he had never broken a promise to his mom. Knowing her son's obedience, Liar promised to make his favorite walnut pie afterward. The little one's eyes lit up instantly, promising he would definitely do as told. Soon, Mrs. Fennell's carriage drove into the mansion. Nia held her mother's hand as she got off the carriage. Seeing this, the mistress and maid couldn't help but exclaim inwardly. The girl was dressed up like a little cupcake. She was so adorable. Nia also shouted "Fairy Lady" as soon as she saw Liar. Hearing this title, the servants behind started guessing. Could it be that the lady was as beautiful as a fairy? Long time no see, Fairy Lady. I've been wanting to visit you. The repeated fairy made Liar both immersed and very embarrassed. After some hesitation, she still asked the child not to call her fairy anymore. Nia quickly covered her mouth, explaining she didn't mean to expose the fairy's identity. She was afraid her good luck would be taken away by the fairy. Liar was instantly charmed. Children were so innocent. Just as she was about to answer, Cardi blocked her from behind. Please stay away from my mom. She's not your fairy. She's my mom. Please don't cause her trouble. The warm scene Liar had imagined completely changed. However, Mrs. Fennell's complexion was much better than last time. Yes, it's all thanks to you, the Duchess said. Afterward, she taught her daughter to politely greet before speaking. The sensible girl immediately took her mother's words to heart. Not only that, Nia also apologized to Cardi right away. I can understand your feelings. Little Duke, can you forgive me? You've already apologized to your mom, so it's okay. I also promised Mom to take care of you, but I scared you instead. Hearing this, Nia became happy and grabbed the boy's hand in front of her. I'm glad you're the second friend my age I've made. We'll definitely have a lot of fun today. Cardi appeared displeased with the girl holding his hand, but he still didn't pull it away. Liar saw through her son's thoughts. She suggested that he take Nia on a tour of the Duke's mansion, so the two little ones exchanged names. Cardi even allowed the girl to call him by his nickname. Watching their shadows leave, Liar knew her son must like Nia. Now only the two ladies were left. Mrs. Fennell had many questions for Liar, so they went to the meeting hall. Before I ask questions, I want to thank you personally, because you're not just the Duchess, but also a kind fairy. Cardi had been completely captivated by his little Fianca copyrightee. He even got jealous over who he liked the most. Meanwhile, Mrs. Fennell kept expressing her gratitude to Liar. Her dream was to see Nia grow up, but she saw her body getting worse day by day. Thanks to the flowers Liar sent, she could still go out with her daughter like this. Liar thought of their family's fate in her previous life. Knowing Knowing Mrs. Fennell was also a person who loved children very much. I believe if others knew about this, they would help too. But this also made Mrs. Fennell confused. To outsiders, she just seemed weak, and few would know about her illness. How did Lyre know? In the novel, Nia got the same disease as her mother. Cardi searched the entire continent to find a treatment for her. But this couldn't be said, so she had to find an excuse on the spot. You don't look naturally weak, more like you have some kind of illness. I happen to hear that moonlight flowers can remove toxins from the body. Hearing Lyre say that, Mrs. Fennell was even more grateful. You've given me hope for life again. Now I can grow up with my daughter, eat the food I love. As the mothers were envisioning the future, the two little ones had already arrived at the courtyard. The talkative Nia kept following behind, chattering away. The constant questions made Cardi a bit troubled, but he still took Nia to his secret spot for eating sweets. The servants behind were also well prepared. Seeing the two sit down, they immediately served tea and cake. The young master had already won Miss Nia's heart. Faced with a group of servants shipping them, Cardi was very shy. Nia was very interested in the desserts in front of her. She eagerly picked up a strawberry cake to taste. Cardi sat quietly across from her, thinking to himself that Nia was cute when she was quiet. Then he noticed the girl's mouth corner was dirty from eating. Like a gentleman, he handed her his handkerchief. Nia then realized she had been impolite. She wanted to be as elegant as a lady, but ended up messing up. Seeing the girl so upset, Cardi quickly comforted her. We're all children. We don't need to be like adults. Nia was also touched by this boy who seemed cold on the outside but soft on the inside. She thought Cardi was as sweet as the Duchess. These words instantly made the little one's face blush. But being told he was like his mom made him very satisfied. He thought the girl had good taste. Innocent and pure, she was a special girl. Unexpectedly, she hit him with, "You're my only friend my age besides Radis. His mom and my mom are good friends. We often meet. Radis is very kind. I really like playing with him." These words made Cardi unhappy. "Do you say you like everyone?" Nia explained, "I don't say I like everyone. It's just fun being with Radis." The girl's sweet smile instantly stunned Cardi. He was even more angry inside. Nia actually said in front of him how much she liked being with Radis. The girl, realizing late, felt that Cardi was unhappy. She comfortingly patted his head. "Whenever I'm angry, Mom does this, and I feel much better. Don't you like being patted?" Little Cardi was already in turmoil inside. On the surface, he remained very calm, refusing the girl's comfort. In his heart, he had already fully accepted this special girl. Seeing the two little ones getting along so well, Lyre and the maid were very pleased. The originally cold son actually took the initiative to invite the little girl to come play again. He even said he would prepare strawberry cake. Little Cardi himself didn't understand why he had such emotions towards Nia. He was helpless facing the lively and cheerful girl. Nia suddenly leaned close, asking Cardi why he didn't call her by name directly. "We're friends now. You can call me Nia." The little one called out the girl's name with a red face. The maids nearby were absolutely thrilled. At this time, the two little ones also realized it was getting late. Nia directly pulled Cardi to find her mom. The two ladies said goodbye very familiarly. Nia then asked Cardi if she could come play with him again. The little one's answer was also unexpected. "I'll have the chef prepare strawberry cake waiting for you to come." This also put Lyre's mind at ease. It seemed the future plot wouldn't happen. A few days later, early in the morning, Lyre was woken up from her dream. Leaning on the window, she saw the maids and Cardi holding holy water with determined looks. She remembered what the maid had said a while ago. Unexpectedly, they really were spraying holy water everywhere, and not just a small bottle, but a large bottle for each person. Although the Duke's mansion was wealthy, they couldn't be so wasteful. Just as she went out, she saw a guard standing outside. He was surprised the lady got up so early. Lyre explained she was woken up by the commotion outside and wanted to see what happened. To her surprise, the guard also took out a small bottle of holy water. Today, all the servants are doing a big cleaning with holy water. Lyre looked at the empty bottle and knew the guard had participated too. Of course, we can't let anything bad happen to the lady. Honestly, I don't know if this counts as wasting money, but I definitely wanted to join in. Lyre couldn't help but feel touched. The people in the mansion were so good to her. "Is there any holy water left?" The guard thought the lady wanted to participate too. "No, I just don't want to see such expensive holy water wasted on the floor." Understanding this, the guard agreed to send the remaining holy water to Lyre's room. Meanwhile, the maids and Cardi were very enthusiastic about this task. Seeing this, Lyre quickly slipped away, afraid they'd see her and drag her along. Suddenly touching her empty neck, she remembered the necklace from her mother that she hadn't seen in a long time. In her memory, she had exchanged the necklace with a witch, but the specific memory was still vague. For some reason, she felt life shouldn't be so happy, unable to recall what memory was missing. Her thoughts were interrupted by her husband's voice. She didn't expect him to appear so suddenly. The Duke explained he was about to go out for some business. But more importantly, you look troubled. Did something happen? You don't need to bear it alone. I'm your husband. You can tell me anything. Hearing this, the assistant rocketed out, saying as he ran, Master, don't rush. Feel free to talk with the lady. Seeing this, the Duke complained that he didn't ask him to do that. But for me, nothing is more important than you. Are you angry with me? Seeing her husband's pitiful puppy expression, Lyre quickly said no. Not wanting to worry him about her memory, she found another excuse. I don't like the way you call me. Young couples and their games. Afraid her husband would worry about her memory, Lyre used the excuse of not liking how he called her. I recently met a noble lady. Her husband never calls her directly by name. The straightforward husband was stunned for a few seconds. He quickly reacted, asking his wife what nickname she wanted. This suggestion was perfect. Lyre blushed, like dear, sweetheart, or baby. Please choose one as our couple nickname. I want to have a nickname like Mrs. Fennell. Unexpectedly, the Duke said, Mine doesn't matter. You can just keep calling me Kian. Lyre then remembered that Kian was already a nickname. She only thought of this when she couldn't recall his full name. In that case, call me Deard. The next second, the Duke naturally called her by this name. Lyre was incredulous. Such an embarrassing name. Yet the Duke could call it out immediately without blushing or hesitation. Instead, he felt embarrassed himself. At this moment, Lyre remembered the assistant who had run off. Wasn't it bad to keep him waiting so long? Unexpectedly, the Duke said to let him wait. So after their talk, they agreed to visit her mother's grave in a few days. A few days later, the family of 3 was on their way to their destination. Little Cardi was puzzled about where they were going today. Mom looked sad. Is the person we're going to see as troublesome as grandfather? No, that person is very precious to Mom. The little one still didn't quite understand, but he didn't ask Mom any more questions. And so the 3 of them arrived at their destination. Lyra looked at the place where her mother had always stayed. It was evident that the Duke had taken great care to maintain it well. Seeing this, Lyra rushed towards her mother's tombstone. The Duke appropriately gave his wife enough time alone. He took Cardi for a stroll in the nearby forest. Little Cardi didn't understand why they couldn't see the person they came to meet. This might be a bit difficult for you to understand. After all, you're still a child. Cardi was displeased that his father treated him like a child. I'm the family heir. I can learn and understand. The Duke patted the little one's head. Such a response still proves you're young. When can we go back to find Mom? We need to wait a while. Mom still needs some time. I'm curious about one thing. Grandfather was so mean to Mom. He won't come back, right? Don't worry, he won't come to our home again. Actually, Grandfather has passed away, but Mom doesn't know about this yet. Let's keep it a secret from her. I'll keep it confidential. If Mom hates you again for something, I'll be in a difficult position. After all, that special bird will bring my younger siblings only if this couple is very loving. This statement left the Duke at a loss for words. The little one continued to seriously warn his father. If you argue again, I won't have any siblings. The Duke finally realized that the maid must have said something. Meanwhile, the little one kept talking. I fulfilled my promise. I hope you can fulfill yours too. At that moment, a light drizzle suddenly started falling from the sky. Lyra saw her mother again. Mom, it's been a long time. I now have my own child. In the past, you were always the person I loved the most. Now there are many people who love me, so I want to live a life without regrets. I'm sorry it took so long to come see you, but I still love you very much, more than anyone else. The child didn't know what death was, but he knew it must be someone very important to Mom. Seeing the rain getting heavier, Cardi quickly ran over to check on Mom, but he saw his mother's slightly reddened eyes. To avoid worrying the child, Lyre claimed it was because of the rain. Then let's quickly go home now. Okay, but before that, can you express your respect to her? Just say you're my dear son. Cardi looked at the tombstone in confusion, but there was no one there because she's gone on a journey to a distant planet. The little one immediately showed understanding and began to think about how to express himself. Hello, I'm Mom's most beloved son. My name is Cardi. I'll become an even greater Duke than Dad in the future." After speaking, the Duke put a raincoat on his son. "It seems my son is very ambitious. But before that, you need to protect yourself." Then he put another one on Liar, asking his wife if she felt better. "I'm glad we had the chance to come here together. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. From now on, I will definitely make him the happiest person. You don't need to worry. Rest in peace." Liar looked at her husband's expression. He must have been talking to Mom every time he came here. So she reached out to hold her husband's and son's hands to introduce them. "Mom, look, this is my adorable son, and this is my beloved husband. We came here together today to see you. I'm living a happy life now. I laugh joyfully every day. So don't worry. Rest well. I'll come to see you often in the future." That night, when Liar returned to her room, she felt unusually cold. Thinking she might be too tired, she soon fell asleep. In her dream, she arrived in a world of ice and snow. Turning her head, she saw the long-lost photo pendant. She chased after it, only to see her past self, holding the pendant, asking the witch to see her mother again. "I'm very sorry. She's already dead. I can't do that, but I can turn back time by 10 years. Liar felt that if she couldn't see her mother, even turning back time would be meaningless. Unexpectedly, the witch called her a liar. "Why would I lie? I heard the winter, which knows everything. It seems that was false. Then do you want to make a bet? To see if everything is really as you say, or if you're a liar. I'll give you a new life. If it's truly as you say, then you won't lose. Everyone there will love you very much. Do you want to try? Maybe you can't live with your mother, but you can sit down and enjoy a life full of love." Liar finally agreed to this bet. "That's great. Let's make this bet. I'll give you a different life, but I won't erase your previous memories. To prove my omniscience, and to prove that you can be happy by forgetting the past, I'll give you a chance to choose. Will you live a carefree and happy life, or regain your memories and return to being the original Liar? If you still want to live as Liar, then it proves I've won this bet." At this moment, Liar was certain that once she started her new life, she would definitely give up her original identity, and she firmly believed that she would win. "All right, then this will serve as the collateral for our bet." At this point, Liar suddenly woke up from her dream, not knowing what this dream meant. If she chose to continue living as Liar again, what price would she have to pay? Little Cardi was about to have a sister. Since the last dream, Liar had been trying to find information about the Winter Witch. The maid also noticed that the lady spent every day in the library. So she asked Liar if she needed to find something, as she might be able to help. Hearing that the lady was looking for books related to the Winter Witch, she suggested checking the library in the basement. It was the first time Liar had heard about this. The maid explained that she heard it from her mother, who was once the personal maid of the former Duke. Back then, she often saw the former Duke going to the basement late at night. She didn't know why the former Duke frequently went there. However, rumor had it that the Duke's family's precious artifacts were stored there. Since it's a private library, there must be information there that can't be found here. Liar also thought the maid's suggestion made sense. This library mostly contained children's books, but the maid wondered why the lady was suddenly interested in the Winter Witch. So she had a bold idea. Could it be a method to bring another young lady to the mansion? Liar didn't expect the maid's imagination to be so rich. It was just like when she told Cardi about the special bird story last time. After hesitating for a while, Liar still went to the Duke's office. Just as she was wondering how to start, the Duke seemed to sense her presence and opened the door. "I have something I want to talk to you about. Do you have time?" The Duke agreed to Liar's request under the assistant's resentful gaze. The assistant could only quietly remind him, "Duke, we still have many documents to approve." Unexpectedly, his master not only handed over all the official duties to him, but also started showing affection in front of the single man. The desperate worker could only wish them to have fun. So the Duke carried Liar all the way to the forest. Only then did he put his wife down. "We often came here when we were young. Do you remember? The air is very fresh here. Can you ride a horse?" Liar said her father didn't allow it when she was young. So a moment later, the Duke rode a horse over and helped Liar onto it. Then the two rode the horse, strolling through the forest. The Duke also promised to make time to teach Liar how to ride in the future. Without realizing it, they arrived at the lakeside. This reminded Liar of her childhood memories. The two had chased a bird far away and missed the time to return. While running, the Duke's face grew increasingly pale. Liar then noticed his back was covered in blood. "It's fine, just a wound that reopened." The unaware young Liar immediately thought of telling the Duchess, but she was told that these scars were inflicted by her. Liar could hardly believe her birth mother did this. But since she knew the Duke's secret, she felt she should share a secret in return. So she told the Duke about the maid being her birth mother. The woman finally told her husband about the bet with the witch. Only then did she learn that her husband had once paid a price to the Winter Witch. Liar never forgot the childhood promise that they would live happily ever after. After that, they never saw each other again. The Duke deeply regretted it. If he had told everything during that time, their relationship wouldn't have gotten worse. Liar believed that he just wanted to vent at that time. "I'm very sorry for hurting you before, even hurting such a young son. Now no matter how many times I apologize, it doesn't feel enough." The Duke quickly comforted his wife, saying it's all in the past. "But I've been so happy lately. I really don't want this happiness to be taken away." The Duke didn't understand why his wife would worry about such things. "Because I've already ruined someone's life. Do you know about the Winter Witch?" The Duke was surprised that his wife suddenly asked this. Liar decided to tell the truth. She didn't want to hide anything from the Duke. "Actually, I made a bet with the Winter Witch. A bet on whether I was lying or not. Have you ever thought we might be unhappy together in the future?" The Duke admitted he had never thought of such a thing. "Because I've always wanted to live happily with you. But I know there's such a future. I've already experienced that life. In the end, we couldn't achieve a perfect ending. It ended in regret. It was I who ruined your life." Liar finished speaking and became nervous, afraid the Duke wouldn't believe what she said. The next second, the Duke embraced his wife. "What was your past life like?" At this moment, Liar finally breathed a sigh of relief, certain she wouldn't face this alone in the future. "I love you very much, but I couldn't tell you. Before, I didn't believe I deserved happiness. When I first met the Winter Witch, I asked her to let me see my mother, but she could only send me back 10 years, and she thought I was lying. I believed I wasn't lying, so I made a bet with her. If I lied, the Winter Witch would win. As Liar, I chose to live with you and Cardi to make up for my previous mistakes. I can't believe it. When I said I didn't want to live happily with you, I was actually lying. You are both so precious to me. But since I made the bet, the witch will soon come to take me away. She won't do that." Liar thought her husband was just speaking hastily. "I understand how you feel, but the opponent is the Winter Witch. It's so frustrating. Isn't there any other way?" Unexpectedly, the Duke suddenly changed the subject. "Do you know why I became the heir of the Duke's mansion? Isn't it because you were born with the same abilities as the previous Duke? My mother was once a commoner. After she gave birth to me, she suddenly gained the title of Duchess." Liar remembered that the Duchess died of a terminal illness. "As you might guess, my mother made a bet with the Winter Witch. Her goal was to become the Duchess." Liar never expected such a development. "Then what was the price of her bet? Her life?" "No, it wasn't. Her illness was incurable. Until the day she died, the Winter Witch came to find me. She told me she was here to collect the price." "Little one, you're angry because Mom didn't take you out, and you successfully defeated Dad." Just now, Liar learned that the price the witch took from the Duke was that he would never be happy. He was very sad. He was already so unfortunate. Why would the witch want to take away the happiness he had finally obtained? So he wouldn't let such a thing happen again. Then the two returned home to see an angry Cardi. "Where did you and Dad go? Why didn't you take me?" Liar quickly explained to the little one that they just went out for some fresh air. "If we were doing something fun, we would definitely have taken you. If you don't believe me, you can ask your dad." So he turned to his dad. "Where did you two go?" "Just as your mom said, we were just walking nearby." "But weren't you in class at that time?" "We only left for a while. Don't be angry because we didn't take you." This made Cardi even more upset. "But you take Mom out every day. Don't you know I've been holding back from seeing Mom because I'm waiting for that special bird? You're really too much." Hearing this, Liar felt very embarrassed. She blamed her husband for not explaining clearly to their son. Unexpectedly, Cardi asked another soul-searching question. "When will that special bird bring me a gift?" "Dad promised me. He said that bird would bring me a little sister. Mom also said she'd give me any gift I want. I've been looking forward to and preparing to be a good big brother." Faced with her son's request for a second child, Liar could only promise she would try her best. Cardi's eyes immediately lit up. "Mom, will you take care of that special bird? You must have seen it before, right?" "Of course Mom knows how to take care of it. But your birthday is coming up. Let's think about what kind of dessert you want." This successfully diverted Cardi's attention. "Can you make me a big cake?" "Of course. I've already thought about how to decorate it. Also, before your birthday, would you like to travel to the South with Mom? The Duke immediately chimed in. I'll make time to go with you too. Unexpectedly, his wife played a trick. I think Dad must be very busy. This time, it'll just be a mother-son trip. This is punishment for hiding about that bird. Little Cardi was gloating on the side. Early the next morning, the Duke found Liar. He had found a book about the winter witch in the underground library. It was more detailed than the fairy tale books. You can ask me for help with anything else. I'm willing to do anything for you. Then the Duke went to work. Liar reluctantly said goodbye to her husband. She started reading the book he brought. It recorded the witch's hobbies and personality. It seemed to be written by a family familiar with the witch. She often fulfilled others' wishes due to her boredom with life. For the witch, these were just games. It seemed meeting her would still be quite difficult. Optimistically thinking that she fulfilled wishes perhaps because she wanted to see fate completely changed. Worrying endlessly wouldn't help. Right now, Cardi's birthday was more important. As she thought about it, she suddenly felt tired. Unexpectedly, in her dream, she came to that place again. Liar, long time no see. Do you remember me? Then you should know why I've come to find you, right? Indeed, rivals in love are particularly hostile when they meet. Little Cardi was already getting jealous. In the dream, the witch came to Liar wearing a necklace. Knowing the witch must have come to claim her price. Oh my, that expression. Others might think I'm the villain here. What I took was a fair price. Saying this, the witch returned the necklace to Liar. But she still didn't say what price she wanted. She asked Liar if she thought her current happiness would be the price. I came this time to tell you that I can't claim the price from you yet, but I will come to find you before this winter ends. Don't worry too much. I'm happy to see your fate now, and I want to give you a good opportunity. In return, I think you should be nicer to me. Rather than me, you should worry about other things, because the changed fate might slip away. Liar woke up, constantly pondering the witch's last words. But in her memory, nothing major had happened in the empire. Because the Duke guarded the north, external invasions and conflicts were easily suppressed. She really couldn't think of any other possibilities. She was so lost in thought that she didn't hear the maid's call. Madam, I wanted to tell you that the carriage is ready. Didn't you have a tea appointment with some ladies today? Only then did Liar remember this matter. She immediately asked where Cardi was. Usually at this time, he would be clinging to her, asking to go. Unexpectedly, he had already run to the carriage. Liar quickly rushed outside. Indeed, her son was already waiting at the door. I'm sorry, Mom forgot to remind you. You're not angry with Mom, are you? Little Cardi immediately turned his head and said no. Then why did you come here by yourself? Usually, you come to find Mom first. This made Cardi blush instantly, because I wanted to go quickly. Liar immediately sensed her son's thoughts. Could it be that you want to see Nia quickly? Seeing his thoughts exposed, little Cardi shook his head frantically in denial. Trying to cover up, he pulled his mom to hurry, saying they'd be late. Liar couldn't help but sigh. Children's little thoughts are so adorable. In the carriage, her son was very nervous the whole time. He had promised Nia last time that he would prepare a strawberry cake for their next meeting. But this time, they weren't meeting at the mansion. Then let's arrange the next meeting at our house. Cardi can give Nia the cake directly. The little one looked satisfied hearing this. It was then that he noticed the new necklace on his mom. This is something very important to Mom. Would Cardi like to see it? Saying this, she opened the necklace. The little one curiously asked who it was. Liar didn't know how to explain to her son. After all, in the child's mind, the Countess was his grandmother. She could only say she'd tell him when he grew up. So they made a promise. Just as they arrived, they found Mrs. Finzel was already there. Cardi looked around, as if searching for someone. Are you looking for Nia? The little one immediately denied it, saying he didn't care at all where she was. Nia hasn't arrived yet, but Radis is already waiting for you. Cardi shyly explained that he wasn't looking for Nia. At this moment, Radis also came over, smiling politely and greeting Liar and Cardi. But Cardi criticized him, saying he started greeting before even arriving. Are you talking about me? Because Nia is coming? I was too worried, so I came late. We haven't competed in a long time, but let's hold back today. After all, Nia can't get hurt. Cardi remembered that last time Nia said she had fun playing with Radis, which made him very disdainful. So he questioned Radis why he called her by a nickname. It turns out Cardi wanted to imprison the female lead since childhood. The two little ones agreed to get along peacefully before Nia arrived. Radis also learned that Cardi had already met Nia. Liar was pleased to see the two shaking hands and making peace. At this time, Mrs. Finzel noticed a carriage arriving behind them. Then they saw Mrs. Fennell bringing Nia. "I'm sorry we're late." Nia spent too much time choosing clothes. The little one quickly ran to Lyre as soon as she arrived. "Duchess, all the dresses you sent me are beautiful. I really had a hard time deciding. How do you like this one?" Lyre's inner voice was screaming. She must encourage Cardi. "This daughter-in-law must be secured. You look very beautiful like a spring flower. You look beautiful in any dress. There's no need to worry about which one to wear." Nia was very happy to hear this and praised Lyre as the most beautiful person in the world. But look, they've been waiting for Nia over there. She then hurriedly said goodbye. Lyre ran while greeting Cardi and Radis. Her unsightly appearance made both of them very worried, saying in unison, "Be careful." Nia took 2 steps forward and landed steadily. "Look, I'm fine. I didn't fall." The two finally sighed in relief. Then Nia took both of their hands. "I believe the 3 of us will have a lot of fun today." She then led them running forward. Meanwhile, the ladies also sat down for the gathering. Mrs. Finzel heard that Lyre had been horseback riding recently. "Yes, after my husband rode, I became quite interested too." Mrs. Fennell also chimed in, saying the Duke was so thoughtful. He seemed to be able to do anything for her. "Yes, he's a very good person." Lyre blushed, causing the 2 ladies to exclaim in surprise. They eagerly asked Lyre if there was anything they could help with. Seeing the 2 ladies so enthusiastic, Lyre suggested they could help prepare for Cardi's birthday party together. Meanwhile, the children's group was also having a lively discussion. Cardi felt that Radis's answers to Nia's questions were always perfunctory. He thought about how he had been troubled by what Radis said before. Nia was still talking about how cold it was when she left in the morning. She quickly turned to ask Cardi if he was listening to her. Looking at Nia with her mouth full, Cardi answered that he was listening while wiping away the stains at the corner of her mouth. "Is your nickname Nia?" The little one just realized she had eaten messily again. "Thank you. Everyone usually calls me Nia." That adorable smile instantly captured Cardi's heart. He even wished he could be the only one to see it. Then he remembered what his mother had said before. If you love something, you must cherish it. Don't try to possess it. Let it have its own wings. At that time, he asked his mother, "If it has wings, won't it fly away?" "Not necessarily. If you love something and give it freedom, if it comes back to you, it proves it loves you too. Don't try to imprison it to express your love. Instead, give her enough sense of security. Treat her with sincerity and believe that love will return to you." Cardi didn't know why he thought of his mother's words at this moment. Then he heard Nia asking him to call her by her nickname like everyone else. The little one instantly became shy. Inwardly, he was eager to agree, but outwardly he said no. "When you become a lady who doesn't get food on her face, I'll call you that." Nia was instantly dissatisfied, criticizing Cardi for being too harsh. However, Cardi noticed that Radis showed no interest in their conversation. But this was actually better. He only wanted Nia to know his feelings. Lyre had only been gone for a while, but a major event occurred at the Duke's mansion. During the day, the little ones were still discussing what to play. "I'll first go to the garden to see the newly bloomed flowers, then taste sweet cookies and drink milk. The flowers are very beautiful, and the cookies are delicious too. That's also why I like coming to Radis's house. And last time, I even got to touch a horse." Hearing Nia's excited description, Cardi turned to ask Radis, "I just need to look at Nia, because she's cute. Look, just like now." At this moment, Nia was staring at the strawberry cake being served, her eyes sparkling. "I want to eat a super big strawberry cake on my birthday. But the pie I ate at the Duke's mansion last time was good too." Foodie. Nia turned to ask Radis when his birthday was. Learning it was in summer, she then turned her hopes to Cardi. "My birthday is in winter, and it's coming soon." Nia was very excited to hear this, eager to attend the party. "That means I can eat the same big strawberry pie as last time." Cardi also promised to send invitations to both of them. On the other side, the mothers were also discussing the birthday party. Mrs. Finzel thought that many people should be invited to the birthday party. Mrs. Fennell also strongly agreed. She invited many people for Nia's birthday, and Nia was very happy then. "If you need, we can help you contact other ladies." But Lyre firmly rejected this suggestion because little Cardi doesn't like interacting with unfamiliar people. "In that case, at least we should attend. I think this suggestion is very good. After all, the children get along very well." "Of course." Cardi would definitely like having friends at a small gathering. The two ladies will also prepare things for the children to play with. It's so nice to be able to live such a peaceful life recently. This time of year used to be very noisy. Liar asked, not understanding, because our territory is often disputed. Thanks to the Duke, the domain doesn't fall into chaos. I'm grateful to have him protecting us. That's why we have the chance to enjoy leisurely afternoon tea moments. Liar also thought that the Duke might be facing disputes, and he often goes out to fight. Before, she thought it was normal for the Duke to go out often. She had never even sent him off once. But the Duke still did his best to protect her. Now she needs to do something to protect him. The other two ladies were also very worried about the border situation. I can't believe my beloved husband would get hurt. Liar now had the same feeling. Just as the three were in a depressed state, Liar became more afraid. The price the witch mentioned earlier might be related to the Duke, so she was especially worried when the Duke went out. Mrs. Fennell suggested, "You can send embroidery as a gift. I believe the Duke will definitely like it." "That's a great idea. But what should I embroider?" Unexpectedly, both ladies said in unison, "Anything made with heart will do. It will be a symbol of your love for each other." "Yes, I'll consider it carefully." In the evening, the two returned to the Duke's mansion. The little one suddenly asked Liar, "How did you and Dad get married?" This startled Liar. Wasn't her son playing with friends? Why would he ask this? "I remember what Mom said when I was playing. You told me, if you truly love something, you can't keep it locked up. Instead, you should let it fly freely. If he loves me, he will return to my side." I want to know if Dad was the same. Liar told Cardi her own story. She thought marriage was imprisonment, but later learned that the Duke had always been silently protecting her with open arms. After hearing this, Cardi hoped that one day he could also become someone's sense of security. Of course, no one dislikes our Cardi. Just like that, the two arrived at the mansion entrance. But the scene before them made Liar anxious. The mansion servants were all neatly waiting at the door. "Madam, I have important news to tell you. The Duke is about to go on another expedition." Liar also gave her husband her blessings. Seeing the serious-faced servants at the door, Liar asked what had happened. The maid then said that the Count had an accident on the way. If they had an accident, does it mean they were also injured? Seeing the maid hesitate, Liar remembered that the same thing happened in her previous life. The outcome was that they all died. Seeing Cardi listening attentively nearby, she didn't want to discuss these things in front of the child. The maid probably thought of this too, which is why she hesitated to speak. So she decided to take Cardi inside first. "I understand the situation. I'll talk to the Duke about it later." In the evening, after the Duke finished his work, he found his wife still awake. Liar explained that she couldn't sleep. "Is it because of the Count's matter?" Liar nodded. "When I heard the news of the Count's death, I wasn't sad at all. Isn't that strange? But I still pretended to be a kind mother. I didn't even tell him about his grandfather's death. I felt it would be odd for a child to see a parent who doesn't grieve over someone's death." Strangely, the Duke comforted his wife. "Our son might know about this. In his eyes, the Count was the bad person who hurt Mom. You don't need to grieve for someone who hurt you." Liar knew the Duke was behind this. "I guess so, because the Count died in a carriage accident." The Duke also admitted he didn't want the Count to hurt her anymore. "Liar, do you think my actions were despicable?" "How could it be despicable? I just don't want you to dirty your hands because of this. I really hated the Count and his wife. After my mother's death, they made me act as if nothing had happened. Every day I wished they would die, but I was also afraid. Because of this, I never dared to rebel. I was like a puppet, letting them manipulate me. How much more blood will you have on your hands for me? Don't worry, as long as I can see your smile, I can do anything. But I don't want you to get hurt because of me. It's okay. I'm strong enough. Every year at this time, you go on an expedition. Every time you come back, you act as if nothing happened. You must have experienced very dangerous moments. Now you're about to leave again soon, right? To protect you and the territory, I have no choice. As a man and a husband, it's my responsibility to protect you. So don't worry, I'll come back safely." The next day, the maids were chattering in the room, saying that the Count finally got what he deserved. Is it right to talk about a deceased person like this? Actually, compared to this, I'm more concerned about how the lady views it. I didn't expect the lady to worry about him. Kind people like you should live long. Liar admitted that she was happy when she heard the news, but she couldn't show it. After all, he was her father. But now, let's forget about him. I already have people who are very important to me. A week later, it was time for the Duke to depart. The maids and Cardi really liked the handkerchief Liar embroidered, believing the Duke would be happy to receive it. Cardi jealously stated that he wanted one too. At this time, the Duke came out fully equipped and ready to go. Are you here to see me off? Both of them said in unison. Of course, I'll be back as soon as possible, so don't worry. Then Liar handed over the handkerchief she had embroidered. The Duke was very surprised when he received it. To celebrate the little one's birthday, Liar prepared a special gift for the little one's birthday, and her husband, who was about to depart, also had one. The Duke looked at the handkerchief in his hand with delight. I imagined a beautiful and majestic wolf in the snow. It looks very much like you, because you are more important to me than anything else. So I'm giving you this handkerchief. This way you'll know someone is waiting for you at home. Don't get hurt. You must return safely. The Duke stared at the handkerchief for a long time without speaking. Liar thought her husband didn't like it. I prepared for this for a long time. Every day I thought about what pattern would suit you. You mean you thought about me every day? Then I must treat this as a family heirloom, passing it down through generations. Liar was embarrassed after hearing this. Why make this a family heirloom? Because it's filled with my wife's love and care. It's worth preserving for a long time. At this moment, the little one also came forward and hugged his dad. You don't need to worry about Mom. Just come back safely. All right, I'll definitely return safely. After all, my family is waiting for me. A few days later, the little one suddenly changed his mind about having a birthday party. No matter how Liar tried to persuade him, it was in vain. Cardi still stood firm on his decision. What made you change your mind? You were so interested in the birthday cake before. It turned out that little Cardi wanted both his mom and dad to be there to wish him well. But now dad is still away. Liar finally understood her son's thoughts. Cardi, I understand how you feel, but dad would definitely want you to have a happy birthday party surrounded by everyone. But dad will surely be sad for not being able to attend. If Cardi decides this way, Mom can't do anything about it. In that case, what do you want to do on your birthday? Or where do you want to go? Mom could take you anywhere. It's okay if we don't have a birthday party. At least we should celebrate a bit. If dad knows you didn't do anything for your birthday because of him, he'll be very disappointed. Well, in that case, maybe we could invite Radis and Nia to celebrate together. Of course we can. It seems your relationship with them has become very good. The birthday cake won't be as big, but I'll still prepare it well. At this moment, the little one suddenly became hesitant. He shyly told Liar to put lots of strawberries on the cake. On the birthday, the whole mansion was busy. The maid directed everyone to decorate well. This is the young master's 6th birthday. We can't make any mistakes. Liar came out to ask how the cake was coming along. They were all very careful. It's almost done. The young master also woke up early today. He said he wanted to find you. So Liar decided to go find her son first. She must be the first to congratulate him. During the last birthday, their relationship wasn't so good. A lot has happened in just 1 year. At this moment, little Cardi came running from a distance. Liar put a birthday hat on him. The party hasn't started yet. Why is Mom congratulating me now? Because Mom wants to be the first to wish you well. Is everything ready for the celebration? It's almost done. Let's change your clothes before the guests arrive. Mom has prepared special clothes for your birthday. The little one was very excited after hearing this. I can't wait to wear it. Clearly, Liar and the maid were also looking forward to seeing how Cardi would look in it. After Cardi changed, he received crazy compliments from the maid. But the little one obviously wasn't too happy. Mom, why did you make me dress like this? Cardi finally welcomed his birthday party. His good friends also came to offer their blessings. The little one, wearing the clothes Mom gave him, stood at the door greeting guests with a displeased look. Liar saw her son's pouting lips. She apologized amusingly. Mom, do you really feel sorry? But your expression is suspicious. It's my birthday today, so I'll reluctantly wear the gift Mom gave me. Next time I'll prepare a set that suits you better. Thank you for wearing them today, even though you don't like them much. Little Cardi pouted, telling Mom not to do this next time. At this moment, the maid came to report that the guest carriages had arrived. Mrs. Finzel and Mrs. Fennell arrived at the mansion together. Radis and Nia followed closely behind. Welcome, everyone. I prepared a lot of food today. Would you like to play happily with Cardi? The little ones all happily expressed their willingness. Nia was even more direct. She flew over and gave Cardi a big hug. Happy birthday to you. This action made Cardi blush instantly. You suddenly did this, catching me off guard. Please step back a bit. Nia didn't mind at all. Why should I? I'm very happy to be here. Happy birthday to you. Radis also came forward, handing over the gift he had prepared. At this moment, Nia remembered that she had forgotten her gift in the carriage. Now she couldn't hand the gift to Cardi personally. Cardi put the gifts back in his room. Only then did Radis notice Cardi's outfit today. I'm curious about one thing. What's with this strange outfit you're wearing? Cardi was too embarrassed to explain. Nia eagerly raised her hand, saying, I know. Aren't these angel wings? They suit you very well. Radis then teased. If I had known you liked wings, I would have made that your gift. So the three of them started horsing around in the hall. Seeing this, Mrs. Finzel quickly took out the image sphere. Liar and Mrs. Finzel were worried if they could get along well. It's fine, they're still just children. I believe this will be a very interesting gathering. Soon it was time to eat. Everyone offered their blessings to Cardi. Liar reminded her son to respond to everyone's blessings. Cardi thought for a moment before speaking. Thank you very much for your wishes. Even if I haven't performed well in front of you, I will work harder in the future. Hearing this, the servants all remarked that the young master had grown up. Thank you, Radis and Nia, for coming. Of course, we had to come to wish you a happy birthday. Nia saw Cardi's birthday cake, and her eyes lit up. Do you like strawberry cake too? This looks delicious. Cardi thought of his favorite walnut pie. Then remembering that Nia's favorite was strawberry cake, he could only shyly say that he liked strawberries the most. Then we have a lot in common. I love strawberries very, very much. Well, I prepared a lot of strawberry cakes. You can enjoy them at the birthday party. This statement caught Radis's attention. Cardi, you don't happen to like Nia, do you? Little Cardi's only wish was for his father to return safely. Radis realized Cardi's thoughts. He didn't expect they would have the same taste. At this moment, Liar asked the little one if he wanted to make a wish on the candles. Unexpectedly, Cardi wanted to do it later. I want to ask Mom for a favor. Of course, Mom will listen to any of your opinions. It's not really a big deal. Later tonight, I want you to blow out the candles with me. Liar didn't expect the child's request to be so simple. She couldn't let Cardi experience such a pitiful past again, so she agreed to blow out the candles with her son in the evening. Cardi will blow out the candles later. Now, let's prepare to eat. I hope everyone can enjoy today's party. Moments later, everyone started praising today's dinner. Mrs. Finzel even took out her image sphere. From the start of dinner, she had been recording each child. Mrs. Fennell watched Nia's table manners. She remarked that although her daughter was a year older than Cardi and Radis, she still looked like a child. She's still just a child. She's already doing very well. As for Radis and Cardi, they never want to lose to each other, so they eat very carefully. Liar also agreed with Mrs. Finzel's words. The two of them are both friends and rivals. She regretted not being able to record the children's cute moments. That's such a pity. Cardi is cuter today than ever before. Mrs. Fennell took out the image sphere she had prepared earlier. That's why I prepared this gift for you. Liar didn't expect to have her own image sphere. Now she could record Cardi's cute moments in the future. Soon it was evening, and the two ladies were preparing to say goodbye. Cardi was also ready to blow out the candles with his mom. It's still early. We can take our time, but I don't want to miss making a wish because of the passage of time. If that's the case, let's make a wish now. Cardi looked at the cake in front of him and made a solemn wish. Please let my father return safely. Then we can travel to the warm south. Liar didn't expect Cardi's wish to be this. Mom, you should say happy birthday. You're right. Happy birthday to my most beloved son. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Duke was in his tent formulating the next strategy. But the enemy had shown no movement all day today. If that's the case, does it mean it's some unknown party unilaterally wanting to invade us? Yes, I suspect it might be a political party that has a bad relationship with you. This war must have been pushed by them. The Duke didn't understand. Just because of impure bloodline, he was always considered a traitor. His mother had only brought him harm. Why does everyone want to kill him? He just wants to protect his territory and family. The Duke suddenly realized things couldn't be dragged on any longer. If they try to invade, leave no one alive. If they're willing to exchange their lives for mine, then let them pay the price. Cardi was about to have a little sister. Lyra had been feeling very tired lately. Even though she went to bed early every day, her body felt strange. She guessed it might be because she had been worrying about too many things lately. I heard Cardi has a new tutor recently. Yes, the young master's previous tutor is heading south for the winter, so we found a new one. Lyra inquired about the new tutor's situation. The maid seemed a bit troubled. Honestly, he looks very kind, but there's something a bit strange about him. Then she told Lyra not to worry too much, as all the servants in the mansion welcomed his arrival. But the maid's words still alerted Lyra. You're the one I trust most among all the servants. I hope you're not hiding anything. If you have any suspicions, go and keep an eye on the new teacher near Cardi. So the maid took on this task. After the maid left, Lyra quickly fell asleep. In her dream, she saw her mother again. Lyra confessed her recent worries to her mother. She was very concerned about the Duke's safety and feared the witch would come to collect her price. She also had another wish, which was to have a daughter. Then she would give her countless love just like her mother did. Unexpectedly, Her mother wiped away Liar's tears and said, "I will come to see you soon." Liar thought she had this dream because she missed her mother so much. At this time, the maid brought in a bowl of collected sour fruits. Liar ate while asking about the recent situation with the teacher. "Maybe I overthought it at first. He doesn't treat the young master like other tutors do. It's like he treats him as a child of his age." Liar didn't understand what that meant. Yes, although the young master is still young, he's the heir to the Duke's family. Most tutors would be very polite. Although the maid said so, Liar still had some concerns. So she decided to go and see for herself. She was also curious about how Cardi looked during class. This was a good opportunity to observe each teacher's situation as well. Cardi, who had just finished class, came to find his mom immediately. "Mom, hold out your hand." Liar confusedly extended her hand. Unexpectedly, her son put a handmade bracelet on it. "Did our Cardi make this? It's very beautiful. Mom will always wear it." "Thank you. When Dad comes back, I want to show off to him. Can Mom visit Cardi's class next?" Cardi happily agreed to his mom's request and asked her to praise him if he did well. In the afternoon, Liar watched her son's class from the side. Cardi was very attentively looking at the knowledge in the book. He looked so cute when concentrating. Soon the first lesson was over. Next was the new teacher's class. The new female teacher introduced herself as Belle. She indeed looked like a kind girl, but her earrings caught Liar's attention. To work smoothly in the Duke's mansion, the girl had accepted a gift. This also aroused Liar's suspicion. However, seeing the girl's friendly demeanor, Liar thought she was being cautious because of what the maid had said. At this moment, she heard Belle excitedly saying how cute she was today. Then, realizing it was inappropriate, she quickly apologized to Liar. "No need to apologize. My son is too cute. That's why you couldn't help saying it, right? Yes, she's both cute and talented. I hope I can continue to be her teacher, even after winter ends." Liar was happy that someone could appreciate Cardi so much. She also noticed Belle's red and shaking hands. Belle explained that she suddenly received a recommendation letter to come here, so she immediately seized the opportunity, not knowing the winter here would be so cold. Liar immediately asked a maid to fetch a warm piece of clothing. She thought Belle must be cold because she was wearing too little. A moment later, Belle put on the thick clothes. She was very grateful for Liar's warm gesture. Then she began teaching Cardi. Liar, seeing how close they were, thought her worries were unnecessary. In the evening, when Belle was going home, it started snowing heavily. She couldn't help but think that without the Duchess's clothes, she would have frozen. As soon as she entered, she saw a red-haired woman. "I was on my way home and stopped by to check on you. I recommended you to the Duke's family, so naturally, I need to check if you've caused any inconvenience. This must be your first time in this area, right?" "Yes, the Duchess is very considerate. She even arranged this room for me. Today, she even came to the young master's room during class. She's so beautiful and thoughtful. That's why the young master turned out so well. Usually, children cry and refuse to study. They might even hit me because they don't like it. When I met the young master, I was excited. When he saw me, he said nothing and just wanted to start the lesson. He also said he would go see his mom afterward. So he showed Cardi the gift he brought. You can see many such bracelets in Eastern countries. There, they give bracelets to precious people. Hearing this, Cardi silently noted it in his heart. After class, he called Belle and asked the teacher to teach him how to make that bracelet. "Mom is the most precious person to me. Today I saw the lady wearing the young master's bracelet. Thank you very much for recommending this job." The red-haired woman suddenly laughed maniacally. "I remembered a very unpleasant experience. At that time, she had spoken harshly to Liar. In the end, even her apology wasn't forgiven. Now she has fallen to such a state." The woman, recovering, quickly grabbed Belle. "I'm sorry for scaring you just now." Your body started shaking. Belle looked at the woman with some fear. "I was just a bit cold just now. It's hard to adapt quickly to the cold here. But you must really like those earrings, right? After all, it's a precious gift you gave me. You also told me I must dress appropriately to go to the Duke's mansion. But my other things aren't very valuable. So thank you for giving me something so precious. I hope you won't be kicked out after winter ends. I have one more thing I want to ask you. About the tools for the expedition. Do you know when he'll be back? As long as I can be with Mom, little Cardi can go anywhere." Faced with the red-haired woman's inquiry, Belle didn't know how to answer. "For a tutor like you, it's a bit difficult to know. I'm leaving now. I hope next time I come, you'll have an answer ready. Meanwhile, when the assistant came to deliver documents, he saw Liar very troubled. She wanted to go out with Cardi, but except for visiting other nobles, Liar had hardly ever gone out alone. Considering the recent invasion situation, the assistant suggested Liar stay in the mansion. But if she really wanted to go out, he could help find some safe places. So Liar assigned this task to the assistant. A few days later, everyone received photo introductions of various places. After seeing them, the maid strongly recommended Liar go to this place. Cardi immediately said, "As long as I'm with Mom, I can go anywhere." Seeing so many places, Belle couldn't help but sigh. She thought the north was all cold and dark, but there were so many places. She felt she had no right to be here, helping Liar choose travel destinations. "You don't need to feel grateful for what I do. I do it all from my heart and voluntarily, not expecting any return. Belle just needs to be a good teacher for Cardi." Then Liar confirmed the little one's thoughts again. "If there's a place you want to go, you must say so. Please, you must go to Central Street. Is there a reason you recommend this place so strongly?" The maid explained, "It's a very beautiful and charming place. Children also love to go there because there are many interesting places, so the lady must go here." The little one also echoed the hope. "To have fun memories there with Mom. I want to go to the place Daisy recommended." Since her son wants to go, Liar will definitely agree. But Cardi still wants to go with Dad next time. Of course, Dad will return safely soon. "We can also go together next year. This time we'll go to study this place well." Belle knew. The little one was also very worried about his father. At this time, Belle took out a hairpin. "My father taught me from a young age. When you receive help from others, you should repay it. So I brought a hairpin with a purple crystal in the middle, like your eyes. I know this isn't something valuable, but if you could accept it, I would be very happy." Liar knew. For precious things, Belle's sincerity was even more valuable. So she accepted this gift and immediately put the hairpin on her head. "Cardi, do you think it suits Mom?" The little one was also very supportive. "Mom looks good in anything." In the evening, Belle happily returned home. She found that the red-haired woman had come again. So she told about what happened today. The Duchess is going to play with the young master on Central Street. But what Belle didn't know was, as she was narrating, the man behind her was eyeing her fiercely. The next second, she was hit on the head by the man. Next, we need to hurry with the plan to create a birthday surprise for Mom. Little Cardi was kidnapped by someone with ulterior motives. When Belle woke up, she felt a headache. She suddenly realized her hands and feet were tied. The red-haired woman beside her was plotting something. The man was somewhat concerned about Cardi's abilities. It said he has already awakened the heir's skills. "You're actually worried about a 6-year-old child. What can a child who only cries for his mother do?" The man still believed it's better to be careful. But now the red-haired woman could no longer bear it. She was eager to see Liar begging on her knees. The tutor we sent to the Duke's mansion, gathering information through the earrings. After biding our time until now, it's the best time for revenge. Hearing this, Belle finally realized they had been using her to steal information from the Duke's family. Seeing this, the red-haired woman mercilessly yanked off Belle's earrings. "I helped you find a job. We can consider it mutual help. Thanks to you, I can take revenge with my dear. To start a new life. We needed money before. I've long been tired of this cowardly life. So we planned to sell the Duke's heir." On the other side, Liar was very worried about Belle. Since receiving the letter that she had a severe cold, there had been no news. The maid also sent a doctor over, but they couldn't contact anyone. How miserable must she be sick alone in a foreign country? But they really couldn't find her. These days, Cardi also had a fever due to exhausting training. Liar couldn't help but sigh that her son was too mature. The plan to go to the square that was originally set seems to have to be put on hold. Who knew the little one was already prepared? Liar just arrived to see her son ready to go. "Mom, we're going out today, right? Didn't we agree to go play at the square today?" Looking at her excited son, Liar had to remind him to come home immediately if he felt unwell. The little one happily agreed. Moments later, the two arrived at the square. Seeing the crowded square, Liar told Cardi to hold her hand tightly. But little Cardi had other thoughts. Before setting out, the maid reminded that the lady's birthday was coming up. How about buying a gift to surprise her? She also suggested having the knight hide her, taking this opportunity to buy a gift. Cardi looked ahead thoughtfully. Liar mistakenly thought her son was interested in the hat shop ahead. She suggested going in to take a look. Unexpectedly, the cute hats inside all looked suitable for the little one. Each one looked very cute when worn. Cardi thought of the maid's words. He immediately asked his mom to get him that fluffy hat inside. He then took the chance to call the guard and set off. Unexpectedly, the guard didn't keep up. In the blink of an eye, Cardi left him behind. The next second, the little one was picked up by a man. His consciousness gradually became blurry. No one expected the power of maternal love to be so strong. After Cardi was taken away by the bad guys, Lyre was still obliviously choosing hats. She finally found a fluffy little chick hat. Imagining how it would look on her son's head, she turned to have Cardi try it on, but she couldn't find the little one anywhere. Upon asking the knight, she learned he went to buy something. It was for her birthday gift. Now she could only pretend not to know and wait for the surprise. She bought many gifts for Cardi in the meantime, but after a long time, the little one still hadn't returned. At this moment, she saw the knight running over hurriedly, reporting bad news. The young master was taken away by unidentified people. Lyre immediately gathered all knights to seal off the square. They must find the child immediately. She also ran around the square searching, constantly blaming herself for letting go of the child's hand. What if the witch's price was Cardi? Suddenly, a light flared up in a corner of the square. Lyre immediately ran towards it, thinking it must be Cardi's distress signal. But she didn't expect it to be a trap set by the bad guys. Moments later, Lyre was brought to a small house. She then discovered that the red-haired woman who kidnapped Cardi was actually the fat woman from the past gathering. And without a word, she stepped on Lyre. The little one was very anxious seeing this. Lyre was still begging the red-haired woman to spare Cardi. The valuable one is not the Duchess, but the heir. Watch your beloved child disappear before your eyes. Is it painful, Lyre? She anxiously shouted that it's painfully quick, about to die. Are you happy now? The red-haired woman laughed. She didn't expect revenge to be so boring. But this is thanks to Belle, that stupid tutor. Lyre was confused about how she knew Belle, but the red-haired woman didn't intend to explain. She then viciously bullied Lyre again. At this moment, the man came back and stopped the red-haired woman. He wanted to run away with Cardi right now. The little one looked at his mother, lying on the ground. He then started crying in fear. Lyre could only watch helplessly as the child was carried away. Just like when his mother watched him back then, she could only keep praying to save the child. Unexpectedly, the hairpin on her head suddenly emitted light. The ropes on her body also loosened. The two were surprised that Lyre could use magic. Cardi was brought back to Lyre's side by the magic. After checking that the little one was not hurt, Lyre was about to leave with Cardi immediately. But seeing the serious injuries on his mother's body, Cardi suddenly mumbled that it was all because of him. Lyre noticed the child's hand became burning hot. It's all because I acted on my own. I said I would listen to Mom. Now I'm a bad child. Mom will surely test me again. Lyre hurriedly tried to comfort her son, but now Cardi couldn't hear any words. The flames on his body also started to go out of control. It's all because I didn't protect Mom well. The little one's first outburst was actually to protect his mother, believing that Mom was hurt because of himself. So he surrounded the two with flames. I will never forgive those who bully Mom. In an instant, the room was surrounded. At this time, the knights also arrived at the cottage. The assassins had all been captured and locked in the underground prison. Seeing the situation before them, they planned to take Lyre away first. But Lyre refused, remembering what the chief physician had said before, to prevent the child from using his abilities as much as possible. So she asked the knights to evacuate people from the square and check if there were any remaining accomplices. She herself stayed to comfort the out-of-control Cardi. She then reached out to touch the flames. Unexpectedly, the flames dodged her hand. Don't come closer, it's all because of me. Mom got hurt. I made Mom sad. You won't love me. Facing the child's emotions, Lyre hurriedly comforted him. How could that be possible? Cardi is such a kind child, but I can't do anything. I'm a useless child. Lyre stepped forward and hugged the child. That's not true, Cardi. Mom has always been watching your efforts, and you even parted the flames to avoid hurting Mom. Mom only hopes for Cardi to be like a child, to smile happily, because you are my most beloved son. It's Mom who couldn't protect you well. I'm sorry that today's outing has to end here. Let's go home. Cardi was finally comforted by his mom, and the bad guys had already fainted. Lyre ordered to bring them back to the mansion and revive them. A few days later, Lyre wrote a letter, intending to give it to His Majesty the Emperor. The assistant knew that the special request meant it couldn't be seen by others. A few days later in the palace office, the Emperor received a top-secret letter. It was said to be from the Duchess. Curious, he opened it. What kind of letter would use the term top secret? After reading it, the emperor just smiled. Cien is like a dog chasing its owner, not without reason. In the letter, Liar recounted what happened a few days ago and proposed to exchange information that would interest the emperor. The emperor knew about the recent unrest in the north and guessed it was the reason for this incident. At the same time, he was also curious. His friend's unrequited love actually had results. This favor must be done, so he called a subordinate. Contact Liar at dawn, while he would go to a meeting. Before they take root in the empire, I want to nip it in the bud. Meanwhile, a knight came to report the interrogation results. The red-haired woman was so scared that she confessed everything before being questioned. They also found out Belle's location. Knights have been sent to bring him back. But according to the clues, this matter wasn't planned by the red-haired woman alone. The mastermind behind it was the dark Guild Lucy. While the red-haired woman was looking for mercenaries, he approached and suggested kidnapping the Duke's young master as revenge. Liar thought for a moment, but decided to wait for the Duke to return before dealing with it. But the dark Guild Lucy hadn't provoked the Duke's family in her previous life. Sitting idle wasn't a solution. Liar decided to write a letter asking for help, and now the only one who could help her was the Emperor of the Empire. The next day, Liar received the Emperor's reply. After reading it, she felt quite speechless. Although she knew she'd be called to the palace after providing intelligence, she didn't expect to be asked to go with the Duke. The reason was actually that he was afraid the Duke would be jealous. But this matter also had a good outcome. Next was to deal with the red-haired woman. A moment later, Liar came to the underground prison. As soon as she entered, she found the two arguing. According to the report, their child had been placed in an orphanage. They certainly wouldn't take the child back. In Liar's eyes, they weren't qualified to be parents or even to be human. In anger, she shouted at them, "It's so noisy. You still have the energy to argue now." The price the witch wanted was actually the unborn child. After seeking help from the emperor, Liar came to the dungeon to interrogate. The red-haired woman quickly shirked responsibility, claiming she was used by the Bell Guild. Liar didn't expect that even at this point, the red-haired woman still showed no remorse and was only thinking about how to exonerate herself. At this moment, the man beside her also started to defend himself, saying that the red-haired woman had asked him to join for quick money and that he didn't directly harm Cardi. He hoped to be forgiven. Liar quickly interrupted the two. "You show no remorse and only blame each other. I can't feel any mercy for you. You try to take away my happiness, so you must pay the price." Afterwards, Liar went to her son's room. The little one had been running a fever. At this time, a voice sounded. It seemed he was very ill. Liar turned around and found that the person who came was the witch. "Do you need my help?" Liar knew the witch must have a purpose for coming at this moment. She quickly protected Cardi, lying on the bed. "I'm not here to collect the price. She looks very painful, doesn't she?" Liar hesitantly let the witch treat Cardi. Under the witch's magic, Cardi, whose energy had gone out of control, finally got much better. He even pulled on Liar's sleeve, saying he was sleepy. "Mom will always be with you. Sleep well." Only then did Liar turn back to thank the witch. "No need to thank me. Consider it my repayment for bringing me joy. Observing your fate has been extremely entertaining. Don't you find it interesting? A very small thing can change everything." Liar looked at the hairpin and remembered it was given by Belle. The witch had been using it to keep an eye on her. "However, I didn't come here to tell you these things. Liar, you lost the bet. As agreed, I'm here today to collect the price." At this moment, Liar was already prepared to bet her life to protect those important to her. "What I want is the soul that doesn't exist in the original fate. I want to take away the child in your belly." Liar finally realized why she had been feeling drowsy lately and craving sour foods. This price is acceptable, right? After all, you weren't supposed to have this child in your fate. Even without him, you can live normally. But this is still his child. If the Duke knew about this, he would probably be very happy. Even if it's a child not meant to exist in fate, it exists now. I can't give you my child, but if you're satisfied, I can find other more precious things for you. The witch's answer remained firm. "What I want is precisely the child that deviates from fate. If you plead so earnestly, I'll agree. Let's make a new bet. All previous prices can be withdrawn." In order to protect the child in her belly, Liar could only agree. But in winter, the witch would never make a bet she had no chance of winning. She must give herself more possibilities to win. "Then I'll tell you the content of the bet now. Guess whether the Duke will live or die in this expedition." These words were like a bolt from the blue for Liar. Let me say in advance, I bet on the former. Do you still want to bet? This was undoubtedly making her choose between her husband and child. She didn't want to lose the happiness she had finally obtained. You know the unfairness of all fate's endings, so tell me, what are my chances of winning this bet? The witch was very pleased with Liar's response. This bet is indeed very favorable to me, so I'll tell you how to save the Duke. There's a mole near your husband secretly passing information to the enemy. Because of this, the Duke will be ambushed. And that sword carries poison from another country. It's a poison that causes extreme pain and death after a few days of agony. He needs a special antidote to cure it. So your husband's final fate. If you're scared, you can give up on this bet. Liar begged the witch to tell her who the mole was, telling you that would be too advantageous for you. But as long as you find the antidote, your husband can survive. Hurry and find the antidote. You only have 5 days left. Please tell me the name of the antidote. I'll go myself. After that, Liar decided to go search for it herself, even though her maid strongly objected. Liar arrived at the Count's mansion alone. I'm here to see Count Hal. You've come a long way. I am Count Hal. What business do you have with me? Others transmigrate as noble ladies or princesses. This girl transmigrated to become a child's stepmother. Not only does she have an ugly husband and son, but he's also a crazy person who likes to imprison people. After going crazy for a day, Liar finally accepted this. Many fans want to know where to read this comic. Today, JoJo has compiled the comic for everyone. First, download this. In the search bar, enter Reborn as a Mother. What pops up is it? Remember to save it to your phone and unzip it. Liar finally succeeded in saving her husband through her own efforts. With the witch's hint, she successfully found Count Hal. I'm sorry to disturb you so late. I hope you understand my situation is urgent. Unexpectedly, Count Hal immediately agreed to help. This surprised Liar very much, because, Duchess, you are our benefactor. I heard from my daughter that you cured her illness. Whatever you want, just tell me. Liar didn't expect that her kind act would be rewarded like this. Then can I go to the greenhouse? There's a flower I want in there. On the other side, the Duke also wanted to end the war quickly and return home. But even though everything was going smoothly, he felt very uneasy. He was afraid something might happen to his wife and son at home. Just as he was lying down to sleep, someone sneaked in stealthily. Coming to the Duke's bedside, they fiercely raised a dagger. Fortunately, the Duke noticed and dodged quickly, and he successfully counterattacked the enemy. The Duke immediately recognized it as a barbarian knife. Aren't you a new recruit in our Knight Order? So you joined with this purpose. That's right, you and I are of the same race, yet you attack us so mercilessly. That's a pity. I deeply hate the blood flowing in my body. You plunder others all day. It's normal that people don't have a good impression of you. I hate you as much as the harm I suffered in the Empire. But when I was young, I always hoped people were wrong. I once wanted to understand this race, even asked my mother about it. But in his eyes, there was only power and money. And the people who worked for him, he never treated them as humans. The Duke's mansion was just a playground for my mother. Whenever I mentioned the servants' treatment, all I got was whipping. When I inherited the title, I wanted to believe in you too. But you thought I was weak and wanted to occupy the Empire through the north. At this point, the villain was tired of the Duke's long-winded speech. He directly threw a flying sword. The Duke, still recounting his hardships, was accidentally hit by the arrow. The knights, hearing the commotion, quickly came and subdued the villain. Liar also successfully made the antidote. This was also thanks to the witch's reminder. She directly explained how to make the antidote step by step. She even sent a bird to guide Liar, just because she found observing other people's lives very interesting. You bet your life on it. I should make the bet fair too. After getting the antidote, Liar quickly headed to the Duke's location under the bird's guidance. She prayed internally that she could arrive in time to save her husband.